Shalom. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in your sight. He is our strength and our Redeemer, and it is in His name, which is His authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect today's message. Ama. Welcome to everybody. Hola, mi nombre es Kofi. ¿Cómo está? Bonjour, je m'appelle Kofi. Ça va? Ni hao, namaste. Osaya, hi, I see you. Osaya, anakitawaya. Kamsa, kamsamida. Habarigani. Jambo Mimini Kofi, Nina Fra Kukatana the Wewe. Welcome to everybody on all these platforms. We appreciate you so very much. We're thankful that you guys will spend a little time with us, and we're excited to continue to go through this series. Excellent messages that were given yesterday by very own Minister Shantae and Minister Tamara. So we're excited about that, and to continue along those lines. And so thank you everybody for being on one more again. I am Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. And thank you on all the platforms that you guys are coming on. We really appreciate you. We give all honor and praise as always to the Most High. We give all praise and honor to Him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A and D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. And we're thankful and grateful to everybody so much. I got a little bit of a tilt. I'm on a little bit of a hill, but hopefully I'm getting it to where you guys can see me okay on all the platforms. Got a little tilt going this way, but hopefully you guys are doing well. And we thank you guys for being on with us one more again. And as we continue getting to this message and message of hope, message of removing leaven from our home, that's been our series, removing the leaven from your home. Leaven representing sin representing anything that causes us to miss the mark. And we're going to continue to go through this series again, even further. And once again, we thank everybody for being on. We appreciate you. And hopefully you'll get a little something out of this, whether it's your first time or you just continuing to roll with us as we continue to learn and grow. So I'm excited about what Yahweh has for us for today. And I'm excited about what the Most High has for us going forward in this series. Trying to make sure that we get the podcast up and going, and then we can go ahead and jump right in. But we're thankful and grateful again, as always, to have you guys on. Thank you so much for coming on and being with us. We appreciate you again. Moderators, do what you do. Thank y'all for doing what you do so much. And we appreciate you guys using your gift to help us to make sure that we can execute properly within ours. So we're going to have some conversation today. And I'm sorry, before we get too deep into it, let's go ahead and say hello. I was trying to get the podcast up, but we haven't. Oh, there we go. Hopefully that'll start for us soon. But to everybody who's on, whether you be with us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, or the podcast, we appreciate your presence for today. And we're thankful and grateful to have you on with us today. Today we want to continue in this series, removing the leaven from our home, anything causing us to miss the mark during this 40-day period that we have, to make sure that we continue to increase and make ourselves better, make our communities better, our families better. And thank you for taking time out to be on that journey with us so we can do this together. So let's say hello to everybody real quick. On all the platforms, once again, if you're on the podcast, if you're on TikTok, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, thanks for being on. How you doing, Sister Beverly? How are we doing, Sister Nancy, Brother Stephen, Brother Taryn? Sorry, give me a second, y'all who are on TikTok. So many of y'all popping up already. Let's see, Jay, Big Brother Thomas, Jeremy, Miss Modesty, how you doing? Hopefully everything's still going well with the job situation, changing over. I don't know if it's Soja or Sohia Dell, I'm not sure, but thank you for being on. How you doing, Sister Monica, Cheetah Printed Powers, Sister Latoya, All I Am, Jedediah, Levi, Lucy. If I miss your name, by the way, charge it to my head and not to my heart. There's a lot of y'all coming on. We appreciate you, even if I accidentally miss your name. How you doing, Dana of Dream Master Music, Jack Rabbit, Louis, User 8857, etc. Tyler, Beefy, Brother Keith, Molly, Shoe Queen, Sister Joy, Glad you were able to join us for prayer. And thank you, Minister Anais, for the prayer service. Excellent as always. Set apart for Yah, Sister Helen, Day Kennedy, Yah Best, Concrete Rose One, Sister Erica. There we go. I told you I was going to try to remember Sister Erica. Mike Mass, Sister Sharice, Sister Nadine, everybody, Sage, Sister Denise coming in, just listening, Splash, Brother Yeshaya, yeah. I still don't know exactly which dialect you use, so I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. How you doing, Sister Rhea? Yashir Israel, Coco, everybody, J Mag, Falima, if I'm saying that correctly. Sister Nadine, everybody, R Gray, Money Green, Drea. If I miss your name, like I said, charge to my head, not to my heart. I think it's Wavy Davy on here. We appreciate you. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for your time. How you doing, Jay Upstate, him the poet, Anthony, everybody. We appreciate y'all so very much. Sister Tori. So we want to go in today again in this series, removing the leaven from our home. Praise Yah. Leaven in this context represents sin. Sin is basically just anything that's causing us to miss the mark. So we're going to take time out to talk about that today. And when we talk about the leaven for today, we're going to talk about the algorithm of an Israelite queen. Longer theme than some that we've had. However, I'm going to say it again, the algorithm of an Israelite queen. We're going to use this today, and then we're going to launch into tomorrow, the algorithm of an Israelite king. Right? The algorithm of an Israelite queen is our focus today, right? Because we're talking culture. We always have to remember we're speaking culture. And a lot of people want us to speak in so many different things, but everything has a culture attached to it. And so to our queens, to those who are trying to do things in the correct manner, as far as our culture is concerned, well, what is the algorithm of an Israelite queen? Very important question, because I have to comprehend algorithm within itself. So that means I got to talk about some attraction. So today we're going to talk about law of attraction. We live by law. Law and case study is what your Bible is anyways. So law is dealing with what? Law is dealing with not rights, but anything that protects your rights, right? And so we're going to talk about the algorithm. The algorithm is basically talking about attraction. We live by law of kingdom, right? Law of marriage, universal law, right? Which is universe, uni, verse, sentence. So the universe is a single spoken sentence. So there's universal law, right? There is natural law, the laws of nature. There is substantive law, laws that have substance. There is common law, laws that are common to a community, right? Or even humanity, if you want to go there. There is law of first mention. When is the first time it was mentioned, right? Some of you think about, even so there are theories, but you still think about things like law of gravity or law of thermodynamics, right? Things like that. Well, we want to talk about law. Law does not give rights, law protects rights. And so we also want to talk about the law of attraction, if you will. Today, what's the theme? The theme is the algorithm of an Israelite queen. Amen, Mike. I feel you on that. How you doing, Sister Sister Michelle? Abundantly blessed. Thank you guys for the love. Appreciate you. How you doing, Romac? Dark Dog, right? So, Misfit Sprint, Misfit Spirit? All righty. Thanks for being on. So, I want to talk about the algorithm of an Israelite queen, right? The algorithm of an Israelite queen. Amen. Let's get excited about it. The algorithm of an Israelite queen. So we have to ask ourselves, basically, what is an algorithm? If we're going to start there, right, before we even talk about our queens, before we talk about our women, our sisters, our mothers, our grandmothers, our wives, our daughters, etc., right? What is it in our culture and how we feel they were created? Not even how we feel, because we didn't create them. How you doing, Country Princess? So what is it that we should be looking for as far as what attracts an Israelite queen? What is it that an Israelite queen attracts? How you doing, Iska? Right? What attracts them? Is it Shana Myers? Shana Myers? I think it's Shana Myers, probably. How you doing? Hopefully I'm saying that right. Right. So what attracts an Israelite queen? We're talking about, again, the algorithm of an Israelite queen. If you want to catch up on this series, you can always go to our YouTube channel, by the way, or even on Facebook to be able to either watch them live there or get the YouTube links that might be in between some of the ones that weren't recorded that day. So the algorithm of an Israelite queen. So first and foremost, let's talk about an algorithm, right? Matter of fact, let's look up how even the world, right, would define an algorithm. So what is the definition of algorithm, right? Because there's also algorithms of psychology and all this other stuff. So algorithm is really psychological. Remember the word psyche, or psyche in the Greek, psyche spelled the same way, Psyche, it actually means the soul. So when somebody's dealing with the algorithm, they're dealing with the soul, right? Yeah, Vatican can mean divine serpent. And by the way, serpents aren't always necessarily bad either, but that one is connected to a serpent that we don't necessarily want anything, any part of, right? But what's algorithm mean? Let's look up the definition. The definition of algorithm, it says it is a process or set of rules to be followed in calculations or other problem-solving operations, especially by a computer. What is an algorithm one more time, right? An algorithm is a process. Hear what I'm saying now? Because we're talking about the algorithm of an Israelite queen, right? Our queens out there in our culture and what we're looking for, what we're striving to be, and what we need to protect, right? Hashtag protect Black women and all this stuff. I got a lot of those hashtags on a lot of my videos. Well, I want to make sure that we comprehend what is it. See, what is it that we're looking for in an Israelite queen? It says a process. So there should be a process or what? Or a set of rules. A process or what? A set of rules. What would we call a set of rules? If we were make it plain and simple, a set of rules might be something considered to be law, right? So what is the law, the process, a set of rules to be followed? So there's a process or a set of rules, right? In your marriages, in your businesses, whatever, right? In your personal life, how you doing, Ms. Reed? All right. And as a Sisters of Steel Gun Club, how you doing? So there's a process or a set of rules to be followed. There's laws to be followed in calculations or other problem-solving operations. If we want to make sure that certain algorithms are there, right? To be what? Calculations. How can we calculate whether or not you are doing what you're supposed to do for an Israelite queen, as an Israelite queen, to teach a Israelite princess how to be an Israelite queen, how to teach an Israelite prince that when he becomes a king, how to treat his queen, and how to treat other, or how to treat Israelite princesses, to teach his children correctly, right? How you doing, Sister Irena? So we're talking about today the algorithm of an Israelite queen is a process or set of rules or laws to be followed in calculations and calculating what an Israelite queen is, and problem solving operations. How can we solve problems? How can we protect an Israelite queen? Right? If he is the King of Kings and you are his daughter, then he would be the King of Queens as well. He would be the king over you as well. Thank you for the love. Appreciate that. Right? So how do I calculate correctly? Right? How do I calculate correctly? Right? To make sure that I'm problem solving with intent, with righteous intent. Right? There has to be some kind of calculating, there has to be some kind of problem solving operations. How do you operate? How are you calculating certain things to make sure that when you come across certain problems, you can solve them through your operations, through your modus operandi, through your bylaws, through your constitution, right? Through your constitution, through your canonical viewpoint, through your lens, through your prism. What kind of prism do you uphold to make sure that you can solve problems that might come to be? The problem with even knowing, who am I? Who am I? What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to live? How does this come across when I say this? How does it come across when I live this or do this? How you doing, Sister Blue? How do I do these things? How do I move? How do I operate? How do I have my being? There's a calculation. There's a calculation to be able to tell if you can afford to get something from the store. But there's a calculation to be able to see, can you afford to take on an Israelite queen? And how you doing? Is it Amuna? I'm not sure if I'm saying that rightly. Amuna Grayson. Thanks for being part of the community. Right? There's a calculation. There are calculations. There are communications that we should have to ensure that the algorithm is correct. Right? So an algorithm is what? A process or set of rules to be followed in calculations or other problem-solving operations, especially by a computer. Now, if you don't know about computing, right, before there was a computer that you guys look at as far as, now in the virtual world, electronics, things like that, how you doing, balloon water? There was a calculation, excuse me, there was a computer already. Did you know that? Like, you have a modern computer. How you doing? Good to see the both of you, right? There's a modern computer, right? But before that, there was a such thing as a computer. A lot of people might not know that, right? Like, there were computers before, right? Not, but like there were things that were there to compute. To compute is not talking about what you think it is. To compute something is talking about what? Calculations. Thank you for the love. Appreciate it. There were ways of computing way before, right? And I don't know if my wife is on. Thank you so much for being on the Honorable Mind. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A and D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. So computing is calculating. When you see, your brain calculates. You see in a manner that actually, when you see something, you see it upside down, and you've been created to be able to see it upside down and actually correct it, because you're actually seeing something from a different perspective. So you have to compute it so that you will be able to live by what you see, or to operate in what you see. Just that within itself, that's computing. You are taking data, right? And you're finding out how to problem solve. So the algorithm is something that's existed way before. The algorithm was always there. The algorithm, basically, we look at the algorithm the way we look at it today virtually. Algorithms are set up so that certain things might be attracted, or certain things that the person who created the system will be able to attract certain things to promote its system. And thanks for being part of the community. Eagle Flesh, how you doing? Sister Shima, how you doing? Is it I don't know how to pronounce it, Jahaya? Well blessed. I don't know if I said that correctly, but thanks for being part of the community. See, so we're dealing with algorithm. Algorithm. What attracts the Most High to you? What attracts you to the Most High? What attracts an Israelite woman into her calling? What attracts her to go outside of it? There's an algorithm of an Israelite queen. There's an algorithm of an Israelite wife. There's an algorithm, and it's a different algorithm. TikTok doesn't like people such as myself, even though they can't really stop us with what we're doing. They don't really like people like myself being in front of you. YouTube doesn't really like people like myself being in front of you. Facebook doesn't really like people like myself. Why? Because I don't fit the algorithm, right? I'm not clean shaven. Um, I am somebody who's not worried about making sure he's got perfect aligned teeth and all that. I'm somebody who doesn't wear a suit and tie. I'm somebody who's not showing his chest. I'm somebody who's not dancing all the time and twerking. I'm somebody who doesn't speak on specific issues, because every issue is not my issue to fight. I'm not saying that I don't fight for humanity, right? But not every issue is my issue that I'm called to fight for. And so because of that, I'm not considered to be well in that algorithm, right? But also I realize that about people who are like-minded. So you got to realize that, see, to TikTok or to YouTube or the Facebook or even the podcast, like, there are certain things algorithm wise, the way I don't expect to judge people on how many views they have. See, a lot of people have been taught, right, that, hey, you don't have this many. How you doing, Minister Nice? Great work again for this rise, for the prayer this rising. Thank you so much for all that you do. You got to recognize that there are people out there who speak truth that the algorithm doesn't like. So I'm actually attracted when I see somebody who's speaking truth, living a certain way, looking a certain way, algorithm wise, not using TikToks, but actually using TikTok's data to inform me and say, oh, that person only gets 10, 15 people to come up on their live. You know what? I might want to listen to them. See, it's a different algorithm. It's a different standard. It's a different attraction, right? There's a different attraction that's there. I realize that like, when I dress the way that I dress, when I operate the way I operate, when I live how I live, I recognize that there's a child out there that says, oh, okay, it's okay to wear a dashiki. It's okay to have long hair. It's okay to wear tassels or fringes. It's okay to speak about the word of Yah. When I go and visit certain communities and certain places, and a child actually sees and can physically, like, shake my hand and do certain things or whatever, and actually have me wrap my arms around them and stuff like that, that's an algorithm. That child's been looking for attraction to see if it was okay for them to be themselves. And how you doing, Sister Tracy, if I didn't say so already, right? How you doing, Sister Patricia? How you doing, Brother Henry? Like, there's an algorithm, right? There's an algorithm. There's something that attracts. There's something that we're looking for. And today tomorrow we'll focus on our kings, but today we're focused on the algorithm of an Israelite queen. The algorithm of an Israelite queen. What is it? See, watch this, brothers. When these queens are telling us black men ain't this, black men blah blah, this and that, they're voicing their concerns wrong, in a wrong manner. However, their concerns are real. How you doing, Black Steel? How you doing, Sister Lynette and Brother Taryn again? Like, so you got to realize they might be voicing it in a manner which is hard to deal with, but they're not voicing incorrect concern. Right? Even in your Bible, read your Bible to bless you. Everybody talk about their Bible, fine. Read your Bible. Romans chapter 8 and verse 18 says the suffering that she's going through in this present time is not worthy to be compared to the glory which shall yet be revealed. But the very next verse after, verse 19, it tells you something that you better pay attention to, brother. It says that the creature, the creation, even the Israelite queen, is waiting on the manifestation of the sons of Elohim. She's waiting for you to become the king that you're supposed to be. She's attracted to kings, and she keeps looking for kings everywhere, but she keeps coming up with little boys. She keeps coming up with people that are wolves in sheep's clothing. She keeps coming up with people that can preach a word but don't live it. She's coming across people that say that they love them, but they don't protect them. And her number one need is security. Her number two need is affection. She's waiting for some kind of affection to show up, but she's sitting there. She's like, hey, I keep looking on the algorithm, and I'm trying to go by the algorithm of society. I'm trying to go by the algorithm of your camp. I'm trying to go by the algorithm of your church. I'm trying to go by the algorithm of your mosque. I'm trying to go by the algorithm of your tribe. I'm trying to go by the algorithm of your language. But I'm looking, I'm searching, but I keep coming up with little boys. I keep coming up with people who say that they're in the word, but they don't live by it. I keep coming up with all these different things. But I'm here to tell you that she's searching for you to manifest. Some of them are searching and never been trained on who they are. How you doing, Teflon? Right. So she's saying, is there a king? Is there a balm in Gilead? Is there somebody that can cause healing in the community? Is there a husband who has a mission? Because here's the algorithm. She's not attracted to men. They start looking for men because they can't find what they're really looking for. But the algorithm, this is what she's really attracted to. This is what she's really looking for. She's not attracted to a man. She's attracted to a mission. How you doing, Detail and Collins? She's not attracted to a man. She's attracted to a mission. Amen, Minister Sharon. How you doing? Right? She's attracted. She's not looking for a man. She's looking for a mission, because she's not called to be in submission. She's not called to be submitted to a man. She's called to be in submission. She amplifies. She grows. She multiplies. Mission. Give her a mission of a sperm, and she will turn it into a child. See, you think she's just opening her legs, and sometimes sisters are taught they're just opening their legs. And how you doing, Keisha Foster? Right? And everybody coming on, we appreciate you. Right? See, you think that she's opening her legs, but she's opening up opening up to her garden, that you might be able to implant a seed that would grow into a forest that will continue to be trees that move on and grow on and keep moving for eternity. You're seeing it wrong. The algorithm. She's not attracted to the size of your phallus. She's attracted to the seed that comes through it. There's an algorithm of an Israelite queen. There's something that attracts her. There's something that makes her move. There's something that makes her want to get up. There's something that makes her scroll through and swipe left and swipe right. Right? There's something that even when she says, I don't need no man, still looks for qualities in men. There's something that even when she says I'm not attracted to a man, still dresses like one and acts like one. There's something that when she says I'm not attracted to men, I'm attracted to women that dress like men, but she still needs something shaped like your phallus. There's an algorithm she's attracted to, but it's not just physical, brother. That thing is spiritual. Right? We're going to be repeating a lot of stuff that we've talked about today, but just hang in there, right? Hopefully it comes to you in a new way, in a new manner. I need you to recognize that there's an algorithm of an Israelite queen. There's an algorithm that says that, like, and this is part of the issue, is that I can tell who you are by the algorithm, right? We talked about this a little last night when Minister Tamara was teaching, and she taught a great word last night. A matter of fact, I told her I think I talked too much on her thing, right? So I'm gonna try to be a little off. She told me it was all right, but I'm gonna try and be a little more reserved. And I'm sorry, I don't know who you are. It's a Crazy Group 100. If you're on, feel free to go ahead and actually like tell me a little about yourself and if what you want to talk about, and maybe we can share the platform with you for a little bit, right? How you doing, Insomniac? How you doing, Akeisha? But see, there's an algorithm, and I can look on your feed, and I can see, okay, what do you look at? I can see, how do you live, right? I can see, right? Like in real life, if you're sitting up there, watch this. If I see on your feed all this food, and it's certain foods that cause cancer, it's certain foods that cause diabetes, it's certain foods that cause people to lose limbs, it's certain food that causes your blood to not flow right, it's certain foods that cause people to be impotent. If I look on your algorithm and I look at your age, I can pretty much say, oh, this person probably has diabetes, and if they ain't there yet, they're gonna be there soon. Right? The algorithm tells me that. He said exists, so I accepted the Father in him because I didn't have a husband. Mm. Right? Like, I can see. Greetings, she travels. How you doing? I can see already by the algorithm. I can tell when you swipe up. Right? I was saying this last night. I can tell. Look, it might be one or two things up there, right? One thing every once in a while, bro. If you swiping up and I see one G string pop up with somebody shaking their booty in your face, that's one thing. But you telling me everything on your algorithm, everything on your news feed on Facebook, everything on your feed when you come on YouTube and you start scrolling, everything on your feed on TikTok has got some woman shaking their behind in your face. Well, that's an algorithm. That's what you attract. That's what you're attracted to. That's what you're looking for. And I had to say that's not Israelite king behavior. Right? If you getting them the spam, look, spam, everybody gets that spam where somebody's trying to, sell you on, hey, do you want to see this girl? Oh, come to this site, you can do this, blah blah. Everybody gets that spam from time to time, but you got 25 of them showing up in your spam every day. Like, that's an algorithm problem. How you doing, Sister Alien? That's an algorithm issue. You're attracting that. You are attracted to that. You are living a life. And how you doing, Pastor? Thank you for the love. You are living a life. How you doing, Prince of Val? You're living a life that attracts certain things to you. How you doing, Space? All right. You're living a life that attracts those things. Whether you want them or not might not even be the issue, but you could be living a life that causes the algorithm, that causes a spiritual algorithm to be upon you. And it's only a matter of time. If it's always around you, it's only a matter of time before it catches up. Heed the warning, right? If it's in your algorithm, if it's constantly showing up, you got to look at your life. I can't blame everything around you for you. At some point, you are the center, right? At some point, if every time I look at all these issues, they all seem to be centered around one person, then I've got to say to myself, what are you doing to attract this? All men are liars. Could it be that you live a life that attracts lies? Accountability. Algorithm holds people accountable. They like algorithm in social media because algorithm shows that certain people are attracted to certain things. And so if they see that certain people are attracted to certain things, and people who like to go ahead and do commercials and stuff like that to advertise their product, they come through to the people who they know attract a certain group of people that might buy into that product. So people that buy into demonic influence, the demons already know we need to set them up on high and make sure that we bring certain things into their life. What's that old saying? All money ain't great money. Right? Like there's some things that you call a blessing that might not be blessed from the Most High. You forget that the devil can give you something too. You don't like me using the term blessing, but the devil can give you a little something because he comprehends that you attract certain things into your life. So here you are talking about, I've got the money and I've got the car and I got the clothes and I don't need nobody. And the devil's like, yeah, I gave you those things. I don't know how many of y'all got children and saw, or even if you don't have children, it's actually a pretty decent movie. The Puss in Boots, the new one, the number 2, whatever it's called. I don't even remember the name of it, but it's actually pretty decent. There's a character in there, and even if you haven't seen the movie, you probably heard about the character. This character, and for those who don't like spoilers, spoiler alert. Okay, I'm about to say some stuff about the movie that maybe you don't want to know if you haven't seen it. So spoiler alert, just letting you know, right? How you doing, Dice Apple? There's a character in there who is literally death. You said you had security from your uncle, so you waited for that kind of husband, never found him. So you took the first thing, yeah, right? And even that, we got to be careful, right? But there's a character in this movie called Death, and he's basically attracted to Puss in Boots because Puss in Boots always says, "I laugh in the face of death." Right? I don't care about death. I don't care about danger, this and that, or whatever. And it upsets him that Puss in Boots doesn't. He has 9 lives, didn't care about any of them. Now he has 1 life left. Basically, is the movie, and so from that point on, he's trying to fight death, and death is coming for him. Right? He attracted certain things into his life because he wasn't attracted to things that will cause him to have life. Now basically the end, spoiler alert, I told you a spoiler alert, right? So if y'all need to turn away for a second, how you doing, Sister Lynette? Right? So spoiler alert, family, spoiler alert. So it ends basically where death, he can't defeat death, but he's willing to fight for his last life because he finally realizes that the female in his life, the female cat, and the little friend that he gets at the end, and all these different things that he's seen in family, with some of the other people like the 3 bears and some other stuff going on. He's learned the value of his life, and the death asked him before they had the last fight. He says, "What's the matter? Life flashing before your eyes, lives flashing before your eyes." He says, "No, just one." He finally realizes that this life that he has is worth living for. He doesn't need to try and get extra lives, do this, do that. He's willing to fight for it. And basically, because he changes his perspective, death is no longer attracted to him. So death walks away because now he doesn't laugh in the face of death. He actually makes sure that he protects life. Algorithm. Now, there's some stuff in there you got to be careful with, spiritual implications, et cetera, for sure. But I'm just saying, as far as like the overall theme of it is actually pretty decent. Yeah, we have to be mindful of our thoughts and actions. See, you can be attracting something and not even think about it. Algorithm is not designed to worry about whether you know what you're attracted to or not. The algorithm is designed to ensure that it gives you what you're attracted to and also uses that as a conduit to advertise more of what you're living by. How you doing? Find me at my roots. So there's an algorithm of an Israelite queen, and we have to ask ourselves, what is she attracted to? What is in our culture? Now, this is cultural. Everything's always cultural perspective here in our in this frame of thought and what we offer. And how you doing? Is it the real answer? I don't know if I said that correct. Thanks for being on. You said, well, who can read my thoughts? Only my Heavenly Father. Sure. But there's an algorithm. I don't have to read your thoughts to be able to say, man, you know what? You eat McDonald's every day. So you might want to change that. Like, I don't have to be the Father. Remember what we said this, even when people say, only God can judge me. I'm not coming at you. I'm just explaining like some of the stuff you might not have been here for prior, right? To everybody, not just you. So please forgive me if it comes off that way, but right. We even read in scripture when people say, only God can judge me. Only God. Well, it says if we would judge ourselves, we would not have to be judged. what is the context of that? When we read it, we realized, and how you doing, Mary Plus? You said it's a way to parse data fast, yeah. And we realized that if we would judge ourselves by what the Heavenly Father says, then He wouldn't have to judge us according to what we already live by, because His word is Him anyways. So if we judge ourselves by His word, then He's already what? He's already judging us. He said you always get an aha moment, praise yeah, right? So I'm not here to judge. So when people say, why are you judging me? If I'm telling you the word, and I should season it with salt, and I should make sure that I'm, not saying I have a heaven and hell to put you in, because I don't. And how you doing? Once again, thought you were on earlier, babe. My wife was on the Honorable Maya. Just several times I'm saying it, but because she has a great work that she does. So my wife is on the Honorable Maya. You can find her on TikTok, YouTube, or website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. And I praise y'all for her being on here. And as I speak, she speaks as well. Praise y'all. So hear what I'm saying? There's an algorithm of an Israelite queen. There's an algorithm. There's something that protects her. There's something that attracts her. There's something that she's looking for, right? And if you're attracting something that's stunting your growth in your queendom, then today, in our series of removing leaven from our home, removing sin, removing anything that causes us to miss the mark, I figured we just talk about some of those things. Now, I do realize too that somebody will say, well, you're not a queen. Before that even is said. It hasn't been said yet, praise Yah. But that's something that creeps into our head, because how can you, as a king or as a male or as somebody who doesn't identify as trans woman or all this other stuff, right? You're a cisgender male, etc. How can you have the right to be able to talk about an Israelite queen? Well, I come from a culture in which I was taught to be a husband, right? Or at least I'm supposed to be taught to be a husband from birth, which means I was taught to make sure I honor a queen from birth. And so a lot of people who read a word, you didn't grow up with culture. Or if you're preaching the word, you're not trying to live in that culture. You might put on the dashiki, you might put on the tunic, you might put on the chemise, you might put on the clothing, you might put on the fringes, you might put on the tassels, you might put on the tzitzit, the site, and all that, right? You might be able to recite certain things. You might sit down and have Passover in a couple of weeks. But the question really becomes what? Is it your culture? Do you live it every day? How you doing, Sister Deja? Right? Right? And if you eat bacon and stuff like that, that's something that you're gonna get better at. Praise God. Right? And that's why it doesn't taste right, because you have that emotional response, the spiritual and coming into the physical, the motions of even how your synapses fire and your taste buds move. Something's telling you you're not supposed to necessarily do it. Right? How you doing, Sister Serlene? Right? I'm here to tell you. I'm here to tell you that there's an algorithm. There's an algorithm, right? In our culture, we're supposed to be trained from birth. How you doing, Sister Judah? To be able to be a husband or wife. So we don't know the algorithm, because the algorithm is not something that was being put in us. But it doesn't mean that you're not searching for it. Doesn't mean you're not searching for it. It just means that you don't know the rhythm of it, what's supposed to happen. See, Yahweh is attracted to certain things. Why is he attracted? Watch this. Why do you think that the Most High, y'all help me out in the chat. How you doing, Reginald? Y'all help me out in the chat real quick. Why do you think that the Most High is attracted to you? Let's just make this plain and simple, right? Let's make this plain and simple. Plain as the nose on your face, right? Let's make this as plain as the nose on your face. Let's make this as plain as the back of your hand. You said honest heart? Okay, I'm on, right? And that's great, Sister Tori. I want to go to something really practical, because sometimes we go straight to the spiritual, sometimes we'll make it very mystical, and we don't make it very practical. I want it to be as plain to you as the nose on your face. Why do you think the Most High is attracted to you? Algorithm. We think an algorithm now. So because we seek him, okay, because he can see you being genuine. You seek him, you're his child, amen, right? So your attraction to him makes you attracted to you, right? And I'm not trying to dismiss anything. I'm really looking for something extremely simple, because I know he exists, okay? Well, watch this. Even before, it's not that we first loved him, it's that he first loved us, even when you didn't care about him, right? Romans 5:8. Yes, right, or who you call Jesus, some of you, demonstrated his love to us, that while we were yet sinners, he died for us, right? So he was still attracted to you because he died for you even when you weren't attracted to him. Why do you think that is? I just want you to think about this now. Peculiar people, okay. Purpose before the birth of you. We're getting there, yeah. Yeah. That's a lot closer. That's what we're getting closer to. He created us. Think he knows how troubled I am, or from a toddler and all those things and memories. Okay, yeah. He wants to help with the healing, to do his purpose. He likes what he sees. Okay. I like a lot of that. Thank you for the love. I like a lot of those things. He sees us in him. That's so very close. It's basically what I'm saying, Minister Shante, right? But there's an algorithm thing going on here. He knew us before we were born. Now we really starting to hit it. We starting to get we've been circling around. We're getting closer. He chosen children, a willing heart. Watch this. If you have a spirit inside of you, this is algorithm. If you have a spirit inside of you, right? Who gave you the spirit? Aha. Right? If you have a spirit inside of you, who gave you that spirit? The Most High did. So he's attracted to what he put in you. Now, what you do with what he put in you, that's a different conversation. But he's attracted to what he put in you. He's attracted to what he put in you. When you walk around, he walks around. That's why he doesn't like it when you out here missing the mark and sinning and cussing and fussing and cheating and allowing and saying that there's no that all everything's the same, and saying words like, everybody's created equal and stuff, when he made you to be you. And when you say that you can't do anything and you can't move mountains and you can't when the fact that you have a soul is because he breathed into you, right? Yes, Adam was formed and there was a spirit. That's man's. Man means spirit. Human, or Hu, is short for humus. Humus is dark, rich, nutrient earth. So there was dark, rich, nutrient earth formed, and there was a spirit, but it didn't matter until he breathed into you, and you became a living soul, formed of the dust by him, the dust of the ground. From the spirit that was there, and then what causes the two to come together is the soul. That's an algorithm. He's attracted to what he is. But see, if you try to modify what he is, he's not necessarily attracted to that. That's law, by the way, right? If you try to patent something the Most High made, you can't patent something that the Most High made. That's in law, right? If you try to modify what he's made, you can't patent it. I'm sorry, you can't patent something that he's made. If you try to modify it, then you can take ownership over it. And a lot of y'all try to take ownership over yourselves. I'm self-made. I'm a self-made billionaire. I don't need nobody. I don't need anything. I'm my own God, this and that or whatever. First of all, I'm not talking about God. God is Germanic way of looking at how they worship their spirits and their deities. I'm not in the Germanic deities. I'm in the Elohim, and He has made me to be particular and peculiar, and not to fit in, and not to worry about what everybody else says about me. He's made me to be a certain way, and when I start to modify it, then He can't. And then I tried to patent it. I tried to take some kind of ownership to make some kind of money off of it or whatever, right? But see, he can't really be in that. See, y'all think that it's blessed because, see, if you're not, you got to be careful. I'm blessed because of how much money I make. Well, yes, he can give you money for sure, but is Bill Gates more blessed than you? That's a different algorithm. That thought process is messing you up. You think that you're worth a certain amount of money. The world looks at that because they have a different algorithm. Capitalism is different than kingdom. You can have capital in the kingdom, but the kingdom is not a system, right? Because this is what capitalism is by definition. Capitalism is defined as as a system. Sorry, capitalism is defined as a system in which politics and economics are used to control trade and industry. That trade and industry is wielded by owners of private corporations for profit and not the state or the government. Now if you live in a kingdom, you live in a government. And how you doing, DXJ3? If you live in a kingdom, you live in a government. Y'all want to hear this? This is real. If you live in the kingdom, you live in a government. And you like to live in a government, but you don't want to follow commands, laws, precepts. You say preach line upon line, precept upon precept, but you say, I don't want those precepts. What are you attracting to yourself when you do that? Are you attracting the Most High who made you, or have you modified what he made? And if you modify what he made and he can't be in it, remember we talked about this in this series. Can you find Yahweh outside of what he keeps? So if I don't want to keep his commandments, he said, if you love me, keep my commandments. That's what Yehoshua said. That's what he said. You said Bill Gates particularly stole and took someone else's creation. There you go, right? Literally modified it, then sold it. Bill Gates is not an inventor, right? He modified what was invented. Bill Gates is not somebody who feeds other people. He gets land and then modifies food and then doesn't even let you get food off his land. He's modified it, but but in the world, they say that's what makes him valuable. Is his continual modifications, right? That he continues to modify creation. He keeps telling you guys that there's an overpopulation problem. Problem with that is how can there be an overpopulation problem if I could take the whole world and put them in the state of Florida? Just in one state. I could put everybody in the world. I'm not talking about shoulder to shoulder. If I put them in 3 counties, maybe they'd be shoulder to shoulder. But if I put them in just the state of Florida and said, y'all can't go anywhere else in the world, I could take all 8 billion people and put them in the same place. They modify the truth to get you and I to think, oh, we should be worried about this. There's too much food. There's an abundance. That's what abundance is. It's more than what you need. Now unto him who's able to do exceeding abundantly. Come on, Ephesians. Right? Now unto him who's able to do exceeding abundantly. You worried about it, there's an abundance. It exceeds abundance. This is the truth. You are in a situation that exceeds abundance, but you keep saying, I don't have enough money. I don't know where this is going to come from. I don't know how we're going to live. Stop focusing on that. That's not the algorithm. If that's what you're speaking and that's what you're attracting to yourself, then don't be surprised when it happens. I don't know about lack. I've been on the streets, literally on the streets, and still ate every day. So I don't know about that. I don't know about lack. And if it was lack, the only times I knew about it was when I was deciding to be disobedient. But now that I'm obedient, and my father owns all the cattle on 1,000 hills, and he doesn't just have streets that were made out of gold, which is true. He also paved the streets with gold tools. Even his tools are golden. You said they say the world overpopulated, but some countries suffering from low birth rates. Yeah, a lot of them. A lot of them are the Eurocentric countries that are telling you that they're there. The powers that be that live in the Eurocentric countries, all right, who have a bunch of children by a bunch of different women, are sitting up there telling you that there's a overpopulation problem and that people need to stop having children. You got to start realizing they're modifying this thing. Praise y'all. And forgive me for looking down. I'm trying to make sure that the podcast is uploaded while we're talking. Right? Like today we're talking about the algorithm of an Israelite queen. The algorithm of an Israelite queen. The algorithm of an Israelite queen. Right? There's something that attracts her and something that she's attracted to. I want to focus in on this today. Well, you gotta comprehend what an algorithm is. If you're careful, you'll start looking for everything else. See, in society today, other societies, see, this is what they do. Hey, shut up. All right, be careful on your way to work, sis. Right? Shut up. and just listen. Be naked, be in the kitchen. Make sure that you fine. Was she fine the way she created? I'm not the anti-makeup brother, right? But I tell you, like, you don't got to worry about cover. Like, you've been taught to cover up so much. It's interesting. The things that you shouldn't cover up, you've been taught to cover up. And the things that you shouldn't cover up, you cover up all the time. It's very interesting how that works, how they operate in that, how they get you to think. The things that you should cover up are the things you don't. And the things that you shouldn't cover up are the things that you do. They've taught us to do this. They've taught us to hate ourselves. How you doing, Brother Bradley? They've taught you to be concerned about somebody else's algorithm. They told you that your hips was bad, but everybody else got false versions of you implanted, and then you got rid of yours, and now you sitting up there skinny. You done shaved your nose down. You done bleached your skin. You make sure you cover yourself up. You done straighten your hair, poison yourself, and giving yourself fibroid cysts, and here they are now wearing your stuff, literally waiting for you to shave it off and then buying it from the salon so that they can go ahead and wear your stuff. Made us poor so that Brazilian women would go ahead and cut their hair off so that you could buy it in the store and say, I got the good hair. Think about the indoctrination. Yes, the indoctrination of self-hatred. That's an algorithm you shouldn't want no part of. He said, sitting up there skinny just took me. I'm just saying, right? Like, that's the algorithm that they got you at. They got you to be ashamed of who you are. I speak against all bullies, right? With the authority of Joshua Mashiach, that you shall. That's witchcraft, and a witch deserves to be put to death. I'm putting you on notice that if you keep trying to touch his anointed with your tongue, even, that it is time for you, that spirit, that mindset, that lifestyle, whatever, to be put to death. A witch, in my culture, a witch meaning somebody who controls other people. Witchcraft means that people who control people have created things. So in the witchcraft of demonic influence, of bullying, of telling these sisters that they ain't nothing, you should, or that mindset, bare minimum, that speech in this culture, it shall be put to death. We don't have time for witches and witchcraft and people that would control, and people that would create a system in which people are treated like nothing, and then tell them that when they speak up for themselves, they are reverse racist. And brothers, any brother on here, I put you on notice personally, right? Whether it means anything to you or not, but I promise you that you mess with these sisters and try to bully them because they're being who they're called to be. And I promise you that we got something for you. Even if it's verbal, if it's whatever. Some of y'all want to try to call them bullying. No, I don't bully. I don't bully, but I deal with bullies. You're not going to tell a sister because she's being a sister that she's wrong, that she's ugly, that she's this, that she's too masculine. And you don't even know what masculinity is. Can't even take care of one wife, can't even take care of yourself, but you want 17 wives. And when she speaks up against it, you say that she's not willing to listen, this and that. You're a bully. You're a witch. You're controlling. You're in the witchcraft. You control. You create these systems and these algorithms and these cycles and all this stuff that's now teaching these boys out here who are grown boys. That's all they are. You having boys leading boys. Andrew Tate sitting up there gets arrested, and Andrew Tate was running a scheme to where he was pimping out women, making them into sex slaves. That's ultimately what Andrew Tate's gonna go down for. He's gonna go down for lying about how he does tax. Like, you can get out of paying taxes if you do it correctly, but Andrew Tate was lying about what he did with money. And then number two, he told y'all something. He basically told y'all he was Muslim, but he was out here not being married to these girls. He was using the sex slaves, even if you believe in having multiple wives. And number three, which is the main thing they're gonna hit him on, he was sex trafficking. He's a witch. You don't think that witches dress in sunglasses, so that's why you listen. you think that That's why y'all listen for real, for real. Like you thought that there's no way he could be a witch because you were looking for somebody with a broom. You were looking for somebody who's colored green. You were looking for somebody who has flying monkeys. You didn't realize he's a witch. His brother's a witch. His brother got arrested too. Y'all just don't know as much about his brother, so I don't care about that. Brother got arrested too. And you forget that he came from a witch. His father was somebody who would cheat on his mother, right? Would leave for months, not even say anything, come back. His mother would try her best to be controlled, be submissive, like he talks about. She would try to wash his clothes. And then all of a sudden she'd be going in there to take the stuff out of his pockets because you ain't supposed to wash his wallet or anything. And sure enough, when she goes in there, she sees pictures of other women, would try to confront him about it. And then as soon as he says, he would turn to his boys and say, sorry, I can't handle your mother right now. I'm out. He give it the deuces, and then he ain't there no more. And now he's not around. Now he's not around. And she's sitting up there trying to get over it. And you as a boy are sitting up there saying, you know what? My mother needs to get it together. That's witchcraft. That's what that is. That's witchcraft. He controls it. And he creates systems to control. And you have sisters that got an algorithm and they're not designed to be controlled. See, a woman is not supposed to be in front of me, right? Or wife. See, y'all deal with women. That's part of the thing is y'all try to marry women instead of be qualified to marry wives and qualified to have her marry you. Sex is marriage and marriage is sex in our culture. So I'm coming from a different perspective anyway. But see, in our culture, a wife is not in front of me, nor is she behind me. A wife is not above me, nor is she underneath me. A wife is beside me because she's coming back to that which she came from. You said yin and yang. I mean, if that's what you're going by, but I'm not trying to be evil and righteous. I'm trying to be righteous. I'm just gonna be honest, not coming against you, just saying I'm not trying to be balanced. I'm as unbalanced as they come. You want to say it's a bad thing, so what? I even got a song that kind of goes against what I'm saying called Unbalanced that we did back in the day when I was, still in the game or whatever. But like, but I get it. I'm not trying to be balanced though, for real, for real. I don't want to be balanced. I don't want to be mean to my wife today and be nice to my wife tomorrow. I don't want to make sure that I live. I know that's not what you're saying. That's why I say I'm not coming at you. I'm just saying in general, right? Some people get that term twisted, right? I don't want to be balanced. I don't want to be balanced. But they're trying to do that yin and yin and yang thing. And that's not even what it's supposed to be, really, is that you have just as much evil as this. It's supposed to it's supposed to be a reminder that you always have the ability to do evil. So strive for righteousness. It's like in Buddhism, a lot of people will be like, oh, well, we all are evil and great at the same time. No. You have the ability because of sin. Now they don't want to always use that term, or they don't want to use that same thing, but everybody is steeped in sin, unfortunately. And so we have to always remind ourselves of what's going on, right? And Serlene, if you're still on, Raven, who's on here, yeah, Raven, both of y'all are in the UK as well. We got a few of y'all. Like I said, I'm gonna start trying to figure out how we can get you guys to start having your meetings and stuff too, and meet with you guys on Zoom, and who knows down the road, maybe in person, some as well, But anyways, getting back to so the algorithm for our society is different, right? When you see somebody in the Bible use the term woman, see, you hear if somebody would say woman, you think negative. In our culture, somebody says woman, we're esteeming. It don't get no greater than woman in our culture. It doesn't get any better than woman. Like in this culture, I didn't even know. I knew people did this, but I didn't know the extent to where it's getting crazy out here, where guys who are, transgender women or gay, or well, usually I guess it's usually transgender women or whatever, and guys want to be women so bad that they're literally like taking frozen things or whatever that are red, or taking tomato juice and tomato paste and stuff, and acting like they're on their period, and they're eating things that give them cramps so they can then run to the bathroom and say I had a pit. Like, it's getting wild because there is no place in this society for women. It's very interesting. Now, I'm not here, once again, this is our culture. This is my culture. If you feel like your culture says you got to do all that, then that's fine. What I'm saying is, in our culture, a woman has a place of righteousness and authority. She's authorized. See, I've said this before, I'll say it again. My wife and I are awesome together because we know that we are not equal to each other. Catch what I'm saying? My wife and I are awesome together and for each other, and we become more one every day than we've ever been the day before, due to the fact that we are not equal. She is not going to see things the way I see them all the times, and I'm not going to see things the way that she does. But that's not the algorithm. The algorithm, see, your algorithm that you have set up in your life and through the world's lens is that you're supposed to be seeing everything the same. That's not what equally yoked is. The yoke is what goes above the neck. It goes upon the shoulder. So both of you carry the same yoke. So you're equally tied to the same thing. But one ox is not equal to the other. Matter of fact, you make sure you put two oxen that are not the same, because one will learn things from the other and one will have the ability to do something the other cannot do. And so when you put them together, they become better when they're yoked together because of the fact that they are different. Therefore, you have yoked them together. Equally yoked does not mean the two people are equal. Equally yoked means you are equally tied to the same mission. Once again, algorithm wise, sisters are not looking to be in submission. They're looking to be in submission. They will tie themselves to the same mission if it's worth it. How you doing? I'm not my hair boo. How you doing? Right? See, equally yoked is them saying, I want to be tied to the same mission. You have no yoke. You have no mission, brother. You said, what do I think about Paul talking about that with dishonor? I think that once again, you should read the whole thing. Right? I'm not going to get deep into that. We have a whole thing where we literally talked about that when we were talking about communion and some stuff. So we have a whole thing that we literally talked about that. But you're talking about 1 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 23 is the communion scripture, right? So that's where most people start with that. But if we look at 1 Corinthians and we go to chapter, matter of fact, we just talked about this on Tuesday, right? 1 Corinthians chapter 11. After you finish all that, there's something that you got to make sure that you catch this, right? So I'm going to start at verse 13. I'm going to just read through it real quick, and then I'm going to go back to the algorithm. Right? Judging yourselves, is it comely? Is it attractive that a woman pray unto Elohim uncovered? Do not even nature itself teach you that if a man have long hair, it is a shame unto him? That's your question, right? That's you saying. Watch this, because that's their culture. He's talking to Corinthians. He's not talking to us. But let's keep on going. But if any man seem to be contentious, we have no such custom. No, I have long hair too. So I'm just telling you that, right? Right? Because people will try to use that against you, right? That's what I'm saying. The algorithm is different. So read that. So once again, 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 14. That's their culture. Do it not even nature itself teach you that if a man have long hair, it is a shame unto him? That's their culture. But what does he say, verse 15? But if a woman have long hair, it is a glory to her, for her hair is given for a covering. But verse 16 says, but if a man seem to be contentious, in other words, if a man ain't really feeling that, right? If you're a little angered by that, or you're a little frustrated by that, it says, we, who is we? Israel, we have no such custom, neither the assemblies of Elohim, or some people would say the churches of God. How you doing, Sister Tama? So what is that saying there? That's not my custom. That's not our algorithm. Right? So we have people who have argued, and I'm not coming at you, I'm just trying to show you algorithm wise, how many people have preached or argued about that? Well, you got long hair, but the Bible says you shouldn't have long hair, although the Bible talks about other people having locks, and Christ himself was a Nazarene, right? Nazarite vows, things like that. But people, Samson never cut his hair. That's where he got his strength from. But that's because you didn't read the whole thing, right? We didn't get the whole algorithm. See, their algorithm is based off of what's popular in the moment that gets the clicks and the views. Our algorithm is eternal on what causes us to stay. So that's not our custom. How you doing, you round, if I didn't say so earlier? That's not our custom. Not coming at you. I just wanted to use that, right? We talked about that on Tuesday. That's why I kind of had that right there. So people will be like, well, doesn't Corinthians say? You don't even get the context that he's saying in your algorithm, that's how y'all do. In our algorithm, that ain't got nothing to do with us. Right? So in your algorithm, she got to have long hair. In your algorithm, he got to have a short hair. He said that ain't got nothing to do with us in Israel, and then he makes it even more plain, nor any of the assemblies that are grafted in, that he'll talk about in Romans chapter 11. You said I need math. Math has to do with what that I'm talking about mathematically. Now I am using Hebrew context, so that means every character that I speak with has a mathematical equation already set upon it. But I don't comprehend. I don't really comprehend what the point is. I guess if without math, what I'm saying can't make sense. I guess. I don't know, but um, but anyways, see, we have to make sure, and even if you talk about math, it's actually supposed to be maths plural, right? Mathematics. So it has to the maths ain't mathing, right? It's mathematics, not math, right? But when you talk about an algorithm, yes, everything is there. Every word has something that's there, including every character in our culture. But once again, I'm talking about the algorithm. And we already went through the definition. So if you're just coming in, I'm not going to like re-go through that. We had these recorded if you really want to see what I was talking about in that particular regard. But when we're talking about this, we're talking about algorithm. And algorithm, we're talking specifically about what? The algorithm of an Israelite queen. So let's start with this. I've said this before a couple times recently. Allow me to say this again. Every woman, there's two things that you need to know about, at least in our culture. And I would say every woman, but some women would vehemently disagree with this, right? And please feel free if you need to vehemently disagree. Please feel free to just please. We're asking, and how you doing, Sister Tasia? We're just asking that when you disagree, if you can disagree, we're asking that at least you disagree with purpose instead of just for the sake of disagreeing. So we're not just arguing out here, right? But I would submit two things to you that most men don't think about, and in all honesty, women don't think about, but they realize real quick when I say it, right? If you disagree completely, you disagree, hey, whatever it is. This is culture, culturally speaking. Two things that I want you to realize that the algorithm of an Israelite queen is really attached to. Number one, I didn't say that she can't do this. I didn't say she can't be successful in this. So before somebody says that, that's not what I'm saying. Catch what I'm saying exactly, my exact wording, right? Every word, exact wording, put it together, use it all together contextually and factually, all right? Every Israelite queen, every sister out here of ours, she does not want to have to work. Did you hear what I said? I didn't say she can't. I didn't say she can't have her business. Matter of fact, Proverbs 31 woman's supposed to have all that going on, or at least that's some of the things that you can use to be a standard. You don't have to do everything the Proverbs 31 woman does, but there are certain things that are there, and that's one of the things listed. She has her own business. She ain't worried about it. But hear what I just said. Not that she cannot. I said that there is not a sister that wants to have to work. Because she's not created to have to work. She doesn't mind multiplying work, and she has that in her, but she is not created to want to have to work. I didn't say she doesn't like to work. I didn't say she hasn't been given a work. I didn't say that she cannot work. I didn't say that she's evil because she. I said there is not a sister that wants to have to work. That's an algorithm. That's an algorithm of an Israelite queen. My queen works when led to, but she doesn't have to. My queen could make way more money than I do right now with the qualifications she has. She did for quite some time. She could easily go back into it tomorrow, but she doesn't have to. She used to tell me all the time, look, I'm here, get your bread up, do this, go into pastoring, do the stuff that you're doing, go into the speaking, motivational speaking, traveling, all this stuff, get yourself together. But at some point, she was like, I just want to know that if something happened and I don't have any funds coming in, I just want to know I can lean on you. Why? Because she's not the foundation. She's the house. Somebody missed it. That's an algorithm thing. That's what she's attracted to. See, a lot of people don't comprehend that when you walk into a house, the foundation is more important. I won't say more important. Forgive me. The foundation is extremely vital to the house. Nobody wants to live in a foundation, but you can't live without one. right? So when somebody comes into your house, they say, wow, look at the flooring. Wow, how did you do that with the walls? Look at the engraving. Look at the at the wood paneling. Look at how many eyes are in the stove. Look at this and that. But if there's no foundation, then what's the point? Because that house will come crumbling down. If there's a crack in the foundation, the house will come crumbling down, right? The foundation might not be more important than the house. It surely is not, but the foundation is necessary for the house to be there. And nobody ever comes in and says, I'm so thankful for the foundation. But we know that without the foundation, the house cannot stand. But what a value is it to have a foundation that can hold up, 10 tons of house? What great is that to have a foundation that can do that, but you have no house? One is created for the other. So when somebody's talking about the curtains, they can't talk about the curtains without it being attached in some way, shape, or form to a foundation. And if you're talking about the foundation, what greatness is a foundation if there's no curtains? Like, there has to be something that's working together, right? And the husband is a foundation. She's not the foundation. And if there's cracks in the foundation, right? If there's cracks in the foundation, the house will start to lean or to waver, or there'll be leaks. There can be a bunch of flooding that happens just because there's cracks in the foundation. So when you start seeing leaks, why is this like this? You start seeing leaks. You ain't doing this. You start seeing leaks. When you gonna give me time? You start seeing leaks. When the children gonna be taken care of? You got to start asking yourself, first and foremost, is it because there's cracks in the foundation? It's an algorithm. Oh, see, somebody gonna catch this and look. You have an algorithm problem. You have an algorithm thing. There's some things that are attracted to you now. There's some conversations you're going through. Thank you for the love again. There's some conversations you're going through. There's some hurt. There's some pain. There's some frustration. There's some backbiting. There's some. You like, man, why am I fighting my own? Why am I feel like I'm walking in the house and I'm having to, I'm having to do all this stuff. Like, why am I going through that? You having a foundation problem. Right? Like you having foundational issues that are showing themselves up in your family. The word house, even in Hebrew, doubles for the word family or even tent. So if the foundation is off, then the whole family's off. There's an algorithm problem. No woman wants to have to work. So if you're in a situation where she has to work, be ready. I know y'all don't want to hear this. I'm not saying married man just for it, but that's what I said earlier. She's not concerned about your money. She's concerned about your mission. She wants to be in submission. So if she realizes the mission is to make sure eventually she will be protected and valued and secure, and she'll get affection the whole time, she doesn't mind working because at some point she won't have to work. If she doesn't see any time where she's not going to have to work, you're going to have some problems. I don't care who you are, because that's not what she's created to do. I'm not saying she can't make more than you, this and that. I'm not saying she doesn't want to make more. I'm saying she doesn't want to have to. I'm saying she doesn't want to have to. Okay, Bana and Bantu, thank you for that. Amen. All right. I'm not saying she wants to have to work. She doesn't want to have to work. I didn't say she cannot. I didn't say she doesn't have the ability to. I said she doesn't want to have to. Right? Like she doesn't want to have to discipline the children. That's why she likes to say, that's why every mama likes to say words every once in a while, like, I'm gonna tell you daddy. Because she doesn't want to have to. y'all don't like it, but there's an algorithm thing. Like, I don't want to have to. It's like the discipline is foundation. So since it's foundational, I don't want to have to do that. I'm here to lay down the law, but I don't need to direct you in that. If you don't believe that, read your Bible, it'll bless you. Here's a scripture we always talk about. Proverbs chapter 1 and verse 8. It says that fathers give direction and mothers lay down law. Proverbs chapter 1 verse 3 tells you that's about wisdom and equity. You can't be equitable and you not have it in place to where mothers and fathers are doing what they're supposed to do. A mother wants to lay down the law, but she doesn't give direction. I'm not saying she can never, right? Just get the context. And the father gives direction, and even though he agrees with law, he don't want to have to lay it down. That's why he likes to direct the wife, and then he'll follow whatever the wife says if she lays down the law. The law is based upon his direction. So if he's getting direction from the Father and he lays down the law of, or well, put it like this, from Yahweh, who is his husband, and he is Yahweh's wife. So as my husband gives me direction, that is law that I lay down in my life. And so if I have a wife, I just simply turn to her and do the same thing. I lay down a direction that came from the Father through me, the vessel, to be able to give it to her, that she might be able to take that law or direction, right, and make it law on the environment, so that the children now are looking at her and they see the direction that came down, and they simply start to lay down the law, and then it becomes something they use for their wives and their children and their husbands, etc. It's community, it's culture. Yes, it's tribalism to a certain extent. People don't like my sin, but there's an algorithm. There should be a reflection that keeps on going. As was said last night by Minister Tamara, 42 generations. Do you even know 42 generations? It took 42 generations to get from Abraham to the Messiah. It took 14 times 3. It was 14 generations from Abraham to David. That means from Abraham to a kingdom being established. It was 14 generations from a kingdom to captivity. 14 generations to establish that, and it took 14 generations from captivity all the way up until the Messiah came. And you might be in one of them, but you need vision through it. You might be dealing with captivity and coming out of it into being free, but you need vision to do that. You might be in a position where you're losing kingdom, and somehow, some way, it feels like everything's slipping into captivity. You're gonna need vision to come out, right? You might be in a position to where, hey, it's an Abraham promise, but how is one man who's passed the years of being able to have children with his wife going to be able to give a promise between that union and keep that covenant and be able to turn that into a kingdom? You might be on your way to that, but it's going to take vision. Your wife, her algorithm is set. These women, their algorithm are set. These sisters, their algorithm is set. These daughters, their algorithm is set, where they're looking for something to where they can have a vision. And in that vision, they should be protected to where they are not having to toil, not having to have a 9 to 5. That should be the goal at some point, but we don't do that. And it's because we mess up in our culture. And the algorithm in our culture, the rhythm of things that you can see somebody's doing, we're not supposed to give an inheritance when we die. When these boys are 21 years old, they've stopped being boys. At 16 years old, he had already been trained on what it was to be a man. By the time he hits, when he's turning 19, he's already been trained on what it is to be a husband. By the time he hits 21, or about to hit 22, he's already been trained on what it is to be a father. And then once he's been trained and he has been qualified through our customs and cultures and traditions and laws, then we go ahead and say, now here's your inheritance. Go continue the father's business. So when he finds a wife, he's already qualified as a husband. That's algorithm, which means that he's looking for a wife, not looking for somebody, as people be saying now, I'm looking for you to come in with just as much money as I want. You got the wrong algorithm. Amen. Well, you don't have to work, but you do it because you want to live comfortably. Sure. I'm just saying, as far as no sister is created to have to work or have to toil. Why? Because she's supposed to be doing certain things to help the mission from the house. I'm not saying she got to stay in the house all day. Hear what I'm saying? She has been called to a position, just like you have been called to a position. It's not because you're like, I can't do certain things. Like, it's not in me to give the affection the same way to my child that my wife does. It's not that I don't give any affection. It's just not in me. I'm not created to do that. I'm created to rough house. Come on, boy, let's go. Come on, put him in a headlock. Right? put him in a full Nelson, right? And do stuff like that. And he laughs. He laughs at that because that's what dad does. He wants to be rough with dad. Right? He wants to fake fight with dad. He wants to do kung fu. He wants to do backflips and say, see, look what I did, dad. He wants to play football and try to hit me as hard as he can. It's in him. That's what he's created to do. That's the part that he brings to the table. And he's learning those things now. It's in him, and just trying to develop those things into, hey, this is how you're going to honor and protect your wife and do those things for her without hurting her, without having to hit her, without having to do those things. But we're going to train and cultivate that so that it turns into something else. Hey, how you doing, Smack? Smack one. How you doing? Right? So we have to be in a position, right? Like that's what you do. You play fight. I don't care if it's a baby boy or a baby girl. mess around with me and give me the baby boy, baby girl, guess what's gonna happen? Wee! I'm throwing them in the air. Catch him. Wee! And they catch them, let them go like they touching the ground. Wee! Like I'm playing with them like that. And mama is trying her best not to say nothing, but she's wincing every time. Because that's not what mama's gonna do. Right? Like we created different. Mama's trying to embrace and have in her bosom, right? Daddy's up there doing WWE moves. You know, you got him straight up in the air, coming back down. You know what I'm saying? Like you would think that I'm being abusive. I'm not being abusive. That's just what I do. That's how I have fun. That's how I operate. I'm gonna make sure they ain't gonna get hurt. I might hurt myself playing with them before I hurt them. You see what I'm saying? I might hurt myself before I hurt them. That DDT, you can give them DDT like that too. You know what I'm saying? Give them the DDT, give them little drop kicks. You have them up there, and what do? They laugh. They laugh when you do that. Why? Because they know that you're invested. They know that you're having fun. They're not afraid. They're not worried. They know that. Why? Because whoever this dude is doing this with me, I guess this is my dad. I don't know how to call him that, but whoever this is doing this with me, I guess he will make sure I don't get hurt. And you'll even see the first couple times if you pay attention to the baby's face, they'll you'll see at first like they get scared the first couple times, and but then they laugh. They laugh because it's like, oh, okay, like I guess I'm okay, and they laugh, and then they do it again. Then after that, they stop getting scared, and then from there they get mad. You try to put them down, and they looking at you like, what? They start crying. Why you put me down? You know what I'm saying? That's the algorithm that we have, but that's not the sister's algorithm. I'm not saying the mother can't protect, right? You want to see a mother, you want to see our sisters at their most fierce, mess with their babies. I'm not saying that women don't protect. What I'm saying though is that she's supposed to feel secure. And how do you have a sister feel secure when she lives in a world that says that she can't even be feminine anymore? Y'all be thinking that they just want to know. This world requires them to not be feminine. How you doing, Aslan? Somebody else from the UK? That's like, what, 4 of us now? Like I said, we got to start making sure that we do these meetings for y'all. We got several of y'all that I got information for, right? But I'm just telling you, like she's not allowed in this algorithm of the world. She's not supposed to be feminine, especially a sister that got some color, especially if we want to use the term black, African, native, Gola, et cetera, Anakitawaya, Haudenosaunee, or Iroquois, Blackfoot, Creek, Foot, Sioux, Lakota, Dakota, etc. They're not supposed to be warm and affectionate out here. How you doing, Kente? Like they're not supposed to be. Y'all are so busy calling them strong and independent that they can't show weakness. They're not supposed to show that they need some protection. That's why even when we meet up for our Feast of Tabernacles, when we meet up, guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna have security. We can't have those sisters out there and we're not gonna make sure they feel secure. That don't make no sense. But we ask them to live like that every day. We ask them to live like that every day. Make the money, right? Do the laundry, do the homework, do all the stuff. Then husband come inside. I didn't say everybody, but I'm saying this is let's not act like this is something that doesn't happen all the time. I see you, Sister Aphrodisiac, right? And all those things. Do all this, do all that. And then the husbands normally come in and do what? Babe, I had a tough day. Well, go ahead, baby. Go ahead and rest. It's like, when's she going to get some of that? Y'all keep talking about equality, even though equality is a myth. There's never been 2 people that have been equal to each other in the history of mankind. Never been 2 angels that are equal to each other ever. Never been 2 people that have had the same fingerprint or footprint or toe print or exact DNA. Never, no such thing as equality. But fine, y'all who believe in equality, when is it going to be equal? Men talking about I should have multiple wives, but you can't handle the fact that your wife has had sex with somebody else. Let your wife start talking about a sexual experience she had with somebody else. Let your wife tell you how she learned how to do that thing that you like so much. Promise you ain't gonna want to talk about it. But you want multiple wives. You couldn't handle being one of the third husband. But you want multiple wives. You don't believe in equality either. That's why we got to talk about first, before we get to the kings tomorrow. We're talking about the algorithm of the Israelite queen. We don't know how to treat one wife with respect. Even if I believe that you could have multiple wives, it would be foolish of me to give you access to multiple wives, and you can't even take care of one. Matter of fact, you can't take care of yourself, and you're supposed to be a wife of the Most High. You can't even be his wife, but you want multiple wives? That's why we got to set a foundation. How you doing, Big Dino? We gotta set a foundation. Just because people don't like the foundation doesn't mean the foundation is not necessary. See, she's waiting, like you said earlier, she's waiting on the sons of Elohim to be manifested. She's been searching her whole life. She had this brother that came up to her and said, God told me that you were going to be my wife. And you was not a husband at all. Not a husband at all. And then made excuses for it. Well, Abraham had sex and that's how Ishmael got here. Yeah, and he was told he wasn't supposed to do that. Well, Israel had multiple wives and stuff. Yeah, Israel was tricked into having two wives, first of all, and then he should have said no. And guess what? Israel, we still deal with a bunch of DNA memory that's messing us up today, because we got a daddy, a great whatever granddaddy, who messed around and did stuff the way he wasn't supposed to do. And now we still dealing with the consequences of that, aren't we? Well, so-and-so had you show me the person who had multiple wives and that thing worked out. Oh, well, Yah works everything out for you. Just stop being so mystical. Be practical. Show me where that works. Show me where somebody didn't go through pain all the time. Show me where children didn't rise up against children. And all the thing you're talking about Israel, remember, Israel's 11th child, Rachel's firstborn baby boy, sold into slavery by his own brothers. They didn't even know if he was alive anymore or not. Didn't even recognize him when they met him in his face. Later on, when he was second in command of all of Kemet. Remember that? Remember the guilt and the shame that his father felt, and so when Benjamin's born, his wife Rachel dies, and when Benjamin's there or whatever, like Joseph says, you got to bring Benjamin to me, and they don't want to bring him because they're like, we basically sold our brother into slavery, the first brother. We don't know how he would take that with his second son. You remember that? Like, why is that not part of your stuff? Oh yeah, Umar Johnson needs to be schooled too. But the thing about Umar Johnson that's interesting is that Umar Johnson used to preach celibacy up until we found out that he was having sex with strippers. Remember that? I love a lot of stuff Dr. Umar has to say, but let's keep it a buck. Right? Like, he wasn't exactly living what he was saying, was he? But he was telling y'all for a long time, celibacy. Need to get a wife. She needs to be on this level. Da-da-da-da. Then he went out there and got two of them. He said it got called Egypt when it became Greek. And then those who took over for the Greeks, they just kept the same name, but it was always Kemet. Talking about dark ground, which once again, they believe that you're made out of the ground. Yeah, Dr. Umar, for sure, for real, fell into the flesh. And by the way, I'm not judging him as far as his salvation. Like, at the end of the day, he got to do what he's supposed to do, and he gonna have to answer to the Most High for himself. But hear what I'm saying, right? We're talking about the algorithm of an Israelite queen. We can see that we don't live by the right algorithm. We can clearly see that we're living by an algorithm that is not Afrocentric, it is not Israel-centric, it is not bibliocentric, it is world-centric, it is Eurocentric, it is Roman-centric, it is romanticism, a system based off of what people of Rome upheld and still uphold to this day. Right? Where's your mission for your queen? And queens, if you get a mission from somebody who's doing it the Most High, are you all in? Are you still trying to do the stuff you was doing before, the stuff that you said is not supposed to be part of your marriage? Like, are you all in? There's an algorithm. I can tell by the algorithm something you're attracting, male or female, by the way. But there could be something you're attracting that has nothing to do with what the Most High wants for you. Be careful, right? There's an algorithm of an Israelite queen. So first thing I brought up, I said there's one of two things, right? First thing I brought up, there's no sister out there that wants to have to work. I didn't say she cannot work. I didn't say that she's not called to work. I didn't say that she can't do anything without you. I didn't say that she can't make any money. I said there is no woman that's created that wants to have to toil, to have to take on the responsibility. But what about Rihanna? And she married some guy, isn't that? First of all, the guy that she married makes a whole bunch more money than you do, number one. Number two, even with the guy that she's with, I don't know married, but for us, sex is marriage, marriage is sex. Number two, though, Rihanna has gotten to a place where she don't have to worry about anything anyway. So she don't have to do it. She could stop today and be set for the rest of her life, right? She makes way more money than Beyonce, who y'all think is like number one and all that. She makes way more, right? So she's straight, right? She don't have to do, but at the same time, like the person, if she had to fall back on them, let's keep it a buck, right? Like that person is not somebody even really she could fall back on a certain extent. That's why he's always, now I'm not mad at him. He should be in the background, play the role, do this and that. He should be okay. Not every husband has to be always out front as far as that, right? Remember, you're supposed to be side by side, but she's always out front. He's always in the background. They don't have the typical thing that y'all thinking about. Right? Like, so she and she's attached to some things even spiritually that y'all probably don't want to have enter into this conversation, right? And I won't go ahead and mess up Riri for the what is it, the Riri Navy? Is it the Beyonce Army and the Riri Navy or something like that? I don't know, but I won't I'll tread lightly upon that today because that's not our focus, right? But I'm just trying to tell you, like sisters are not designed to have to take on those things. They're supposed to be freed up to multiply. Brothers, you're supposed to give direction so you're freed up to protect. She lays down law so that she's freed up to multiply. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 8. When two become one, you become more equitable. Proverbs chapter 1, verse 3, and the Proverbs 1, verse 8. Fathers give direction, mothers lay down the law. So the number one thing is that there's no, at least in our culture, our algorithm, right? There's no brother out here who wants to have to work. But then here's the second thing. Not only do you not want to have to work, hallelujah, watch this. But then here's another thing. Every sister is designed, I don't even know how to put this correctly. So Holy Spirit, please help me. Because I know somebody's going to take offense. But watch this. Every sister, every mother, every woman, every queen, as much as you don't want to hear this, because you're going to take it the wrong way. So I'm going to fix it up for you. But watch this. You said, is the mission built into a wife? If she's a wife, she's going to support the mission, but she gets to choose which mission she wants to support, right? But you got to know what a wife is. But we can possibly get into that in a second, but watch this. The number one thing, she doesn't want to have to work. Number two thing, watch this. You ready for this? Number two thing that's even more important is every Israelite queen from birth, every Israelite queen, deep game, every Israelite queen is looking for a father. I don't need, my father was in my life. If you believe in the Most High, what are you looking for? Help me, right? Like, let's not make it so mystical that we can't be practical with it. Stop being so spiritual with it and stop being so, no, look, I'm looking for a father too. So this isn't only females are looking for, only people that are feminine. No. Hear what I'm saying? Every Israelite queen is looking for a father. That's algorithm. That's the way it is. Like, you can be mad at me for saying it. I'm telling you what it is properly. Like, heated, not heated, that's on you. But it would be wrong upon me to have this and not share it with you. Every Israelite queen, every sister in our culture, every sister in Afrocentricity even is looking for what? She's looking for a father. That's what it is, right? And so when she comes to things, see, watch this. Well, I've said this before. I told you it's going to be a lot of repetitive stuff. I am repetitive anyways when I teach, but hopefully you'll get this, right? When I say this part again. And how you doing? Is it Fiona? And you said you had to tell someone, to be treated because your father treated you like a princess. Amen, right? A father, right? Watch this. You ready? Walking down the aisle. What happens before we even start the full ceremony. What has to happen? Everybody stands up as the bride comes down the aisle. Who's taking the bride down the aisle? Who's supposed to be taking her down the aisle in his arm? Who's supposed to be doing that? Thank you, Ben. Right? Who's supposed to be doing that? It's supposed to be the father. Or if he's not around, the father figure. Right? Daddy's supposed to be walking down the aisle. And who is he walking her towards? Somebody who's going to become her husband, and that's going to be the spiritual father now. And who is it, by the way, that's the groom is standing next to? When the groom, and I'm there, I'm supposed to be a representation, regardless of what title you want to give me. I'm supposed to be the representation of the father of all. Because what's going to happen is that the father of the bride is going to walk down the aisle with his daughter. He's going to stand there. Everybody's standing up. All the witnesses to this are standing up to watch a transference of authority from one father physically to another father spiritually. And there's a father that's standing there watching the whole thing. And I, as the father of all, or representing the father of all, I'm not the father, right? But representing the whole thing. What do I say? I say, who giveth, before I say, dearly beloved, we are gathered here today. If that's what you don't have to say that, but that's what everybody really likes, you know. So before I say, dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to witness blah, 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 and this holy, and holy matrimony in this union that we call marriage, right? Before I do all that, I say, who giveth this woman, prized possession, valuable, weaker vessel, weaker in our culture, talking about she's more valuable, who giveth this woman away to be married? Now, some of y'all don't like that. Some sisters even argue with me. Oh, you got to change that. Nobody gives me away. No. Look, your father is your physical father and is your spiritual husband. He cannot become your physical husband or else he is perverted, right? So he has to be your physical father and be your spiritual husband. And what's going on is I'm asking who's going to give permission for her to be able to make sure she goes from one father physically to another father spiritually. Who is it that gives permission? And the father of the bride is the one that says, I do. Just like you two are going to later have to say, I do. He has to give permission. Why? Because whatever baby girl did with the physical father, she's going to have to get it from the spiritual father. Y'all missed it, right? The father of fathers is asking a question. The person representing him is asking the question, who giveth away this woman? Because the father of fathers is going to take care of everything anyways. He's in all relationships at the same time. So he's in the relationship with all parties involved. So he's in the relationship with the spirit, with the physical father and this woman. He's going to be in the spiritual relationship with this woman and her spiritual father. But he's overall. And there's going to be a transference of authority. Right? There's going to be a transference of authority. This is what we came to see. That's what the wedding is for. y'all thought the ceremony, but we're actually seeing a transference of authority from one house into another. This woman is taken care of in one house. If my daughter could come and cry on my shoulder, then baby boy, she better be able to cry on yours. Right? If you said Africans have forgotten their matriarchal heritage, shame. Okay. Yeah, I don't know which way we're going with that, but I guess if I don't comprehend the question. Is that because I'm mentioning this Eurocentric thing, which by the way, I don't necessarily agree that that's how you should be married, and you shouldn't necessarily be married by the state, or if you say a multiple wives thing or whatever. I'm not sure where to catch it, but if you can go ahead, I know it's hard to put it in the chat, or if that's your way of saying hello or whatever, but if you can just put in the chat what you actually mean, that way I can make sure. I don't know where to go with that, but thank you for being on. So watch this. So even in this ceremony, even though I've said it plenty of times, I don't even necessarily agree that you have to have the ceremony, because our ceremony would be different anyways. But nevertheless, if y'all go by that, right, now that that's been put out there, if that's what you go by, there's a reason why that's being there, right? Is that the spirit, right? There's a spiritual transference, or there's a transference of authority from one father to the other. By the way, in our culture, you would have already paid a dowry. You don't just get a wife without making sure that there's some kind of payment. Why? Because she's valuable. And you got to have something you're bringing her into. Why? Because she's valuable. Right? But anyways, let me stick with what I was talking about, because people just assume I don't know what I'm talking about usually. So hear what I'm saying. So like, you have this question that's asked, who gives her away? Why? Because whatever I did as a father, you got to do it. If I took care of her food, you got to take care of her food. If I took care of her position, watch this, maybe she's had babies before she was supposed to have them. Right? So I mean, I had to take care of those babies. So you got to take care of her babies. Like, it's important that real fathers are in position, because women are searching for fathers, whether you like it or not. And you're asking for her to submit to a man, but you got to have a mission. It's not submission, it's submission. So the mission of the father includes making sure she was always secure. And when she was always secure, there's certain things that she didn't have to worry about, because it came from her father. Where you talking about you want to be her husband. So he was her physical father. Right? He was the physical father and the spiritual husband. Well, guess what's going to happen? Now you're going to become the physical husband and the spiritual father. You have to make sure that you're ready to do what daddy did, but now you get to take it to the next level, because daddy cannot lay down with his own daughter. So you got to take it to a level that he can't take it to. So when everybody's rising and that's happening, who giveth this woman away to be wed? What we're asking is, hey, who is it that's saying that it's okay for this daughter to have another father? Who is it that's saying it's okay? And I'm looking for the father to tell me that it's okay. Thank you for the love. Right? That's the position. I'm looking for the father, or a father figure, or somebody, right? Some women even be doing stuff, well, I'm going to have my son do it because his father wasn't there, but I need. So no, your son is not your father. That's the problem. My boy, you're the man of this house. He's 6 years old. Can't tie his shoes right here. What you talking about? You know what I'm saying? We still trying to make sure he ride his bike correctly. How are you gonna be the man of the house? What we doing? Right? I'm not. We need a father or a father figure to step into position. But we have a lot of women that feel insecure, that are not secured by anything, and so they don't come up with fathers. We don't have spiritual fathers. We don't have loving fathers. We don't have caring men who are older, who make sure that they help to develop these young sisters. Yeah, we don't have sisters that help to develop these young sisters, but we don't have father figures anymore. Right? You got women learning about relationships, listen to Snoop Dogg in the interview. Snoop is, look, I'm not saying Snoop don't take care of his children, but I don't want Snoop to tell you what a wife is. Snoop will tell you about the love he has for his wife while he's calling women B words. And they say, are you ashamed now that you've gotten older, that that you were calling them B's and H's and stuff? He was like, no, I'm not ashamed at all. That's what I said back then. Plus, some of these girls are B's and H's. I mean, if that's what you want to follow, that's not a father for you, though. Not in our culture. You're not a female dog. Maybe that's why you bark at people. Maybe that's why you try to bite people the way that you do, because you identify something that you're not. You're not that. You better than that. Chris Brown hits women. Why you think that his songs about love have anything to do with you? T.I. told you that he in love with a stripper. Now, I'm not saying that if you're a stripper, you don't deserve love. But I'm not really trying to make sure that I teach sisters how to make sure that they can go to the strip club with their husbands. I find that not only appalling, but pretty concerning, because how is it that he's supposed to look at somebody else but then love you? Like, I don't see the faithfulness in that. Matter of fact, there's something called emotional cheating. There are people who cheat emotionally. That means they still can't be there for you the whole way. See, the same way your father was supposed to be there for you, he's supposed to be the new father. Algorithm of an Israelite queen is different than the algorithm of the world. I don't expect, if you go in with your husband or you dating this dude, we don't even do dating in our culture, but for those of you who date, I don't expect somebody who's bringing a girlfriend or a wife to a club to watch other women dance. I'm not expecting for them to be faithful. So if you go and sit there and say, I did everything, I went to the strip club with them and stuff, I'm like, that's part of the problem. Why you go? Why was that ever allowed? You're a wife. Well, I'm talking about culturally. In our culture, we don't date because we're trained to be husbands and wives from birth. So in our culture, if a husband would be in his work and he would see a wife, she would already be qualified as a wife. He would already be qualified as a husband. We would know this about them already, culturally speaking, right? And then we would watch them as husbands. And then after that, we would come up to them while we're in our work. And we would say, these are some of the things that we're doing. And I've been watching you. And it seems like you would be able to help me with this mission that I have or whatever. And I really find something in my heart that's excellent for you. And so we would give you all that. And then we would submit in a sense, a resume. This is what we do. This is how I'm operate. This is what I love to do, blah, blah. Please go and think about it. Right. And then she would actually take it and think about it and look at it and stuff. And we have a little bit of conversation from there. Okay, I think this is worthy. And then we would go and have our families be involved in the process of saying, can they be husband and wife? And then from there, we would say that then there would be something called a knocking ceremony. Even this thing that says, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If you've heard that before, right, in scripture, that's what that comes from. It's a knocking ceremony where you would have witnesses come. The father or the father of the bride to be, hopefully, would answer the door or send somebody to answer the door. The father of the groom or the hopeful groom to be would come in, and we would pour in. They would pour something in. You would pour in something, either some wine or some tea or something. You would pour in to what's going to go on. And then if the father of the bride accepted it, drank what you were pouring into, he was saying, I think that you guys could pour into our family. And then you would have conversation of what's there, including even a payment or something that would be there due for the daughter, because the daughter is valuable. So if you're going to take the daughter away and I'm going to give away the right of being her physical father and spiritual husband to allow you to now become her physical husband and her spiritual father, then we're going to talk about terms, because I don't take it lightly what you're doing with my daughter. So your ability to even give a dowry or to give a certain amount of years of indentured servitude, not slavery, but indentured servitude, job, to work for this family, to help us out with some things, to make sure that once you take our daughter, things will be okay for us. That's something that was required because we want to see how much effort you're going to put into taking care of our baby. And if you're going to take care of our family, and if you're going to make sure these two families become one, because when two people become one, then two families going to become one. There's a whole lot of different stuff. See, in the culture today, once again, it's not our algorithm. We're talking about the algorithm of an Israelite queen. And in an Israelite algorithm, you got to comprehend, you got to understand that when it comes to this, you got a lot of people who are dating. But dating is what? If I go into a store and I get some milk and it has a date on it, what happens? That means that milk is dated. It's going to expire. I'm expecting it to expire. In our culture, if you get married, we're expecting it till death do us part, period. You said, what about the village? Why are we reduced to these colonial gender roles? Well, colonial gender roles, what are you talking about? Before there was colonial constructs such as white, because white's not a color, before there was a colonial construct such as what you think of marriage is, we had marriage. Why is it that if I'm not, why is it if I want to live by what my culture says? That's why I said it's cultural. If you don't respect what my culture does in that regard, you don't have to. You don't have to live by it. Just like I don't have to live by something that says that it's not okay for you, like you're saying it's not okay to. But that's not a colonial construct. I'm not speaking from a colonial construct. You said, how can you get a wife without dating? I just told you how. We're trained from birth. In my culture, I'm not saying I'm down on anybody. I'm not saying you're going to heaven to hell. I don't have none of that to put you in. I'm saying in my culture, this is how we do as far as a male. Ages 0 to 3, you're taught you're a boy. Ages 4 to 6, you're weaned from your mother. You're not going to be a mama's boy. Why? Because ages 7 to 9, you're your father's apprentice. Whatever daddy does, you do. Ages 10 to 12, guess what you're going to do? You're going to be extremely educated. Why? Ages 13 to 15, you're going to be trained on what it is to be a male, right? But then you get to ages 16 to 18, or I'm sorry, an adult male, right? A man. Ages 16 to 18, you're going to be trained on what it is to be a husband and how to treat a wife. Ages 19 to 21, you're going to be trained on what it is to be a father, how to treat your children, and how to treat your mother, their mother. And then you get an inheritance and you move on. You said I didn't say you can't do it. I'm saying you have you dug deeper to see more universal truths. There can't be universal truths, plural. There's a truth. Now, if you're saying, right, especially if you're saying universal. Now, if there's truths, then it means that in your culture, you think this is true. And in your culture, you think this is true. So if you're saying that, that's why I said, if you want to do it, you do it. But there's not more than, like, there's universal truth. So if there's something universal, the word universe is simple. Universe, uni means a, like uno, right? Uno is one, uni is one, verse is a sentence. So universe is a single spoken sentence. I can't talk about a universe without a single spoken sentence. So if something is one single spoken sentence that everybody should live by, that makes it universal. So I believe that you're more so talking about you want truths, you want things that are multiple, you don't want things to be universal. And if that's the case, that's fine. That's why, once again, I'm talking about something that's a specific algorithm. The theme for today is an algorithm of an Israelite queen. Now, if you want to be an American queen, if you want to be a African American queen, if you want to be a Greek queen, uh, um, an English queen, if you like to be a Jamaican queen, then that's fine. You can be those things. I'm talking about a specific culture. That's all. Uh-oh. What if you don't want to be married? Sounds like you're grooming gender into gender roles. Well, that's a great question. And I appreciate the questioning, right? So watch this. What does the word gender mean in its original form before people changed it into whatever it is that people want it to be? Because gender means everything to everybody and it can be whatever you choose it to be. But what does the word gender even come from? You said, what if you just want freedom to be? To be what? But once again, you're asking great questions. If you don't mind, can you answer one of mine? Um, what does the word gender originally come from? Do you know? Jancha. Do you know what that means? No, that's not gender. A husband and wife is not a gender. I know what people are trying to change it into, but that's not a gender. Do you know what the word gender comes from? And then you send and answer my question. You're just basically like throwing stuff at me, and I don't mind the conversation, but let's make sure that we're actually like conversing, not just like throwing what we believe at each other. Do you know what the word gender means? You see what I'm saying? Like, that's not what gender means. Jancha does not mean that. Meaning roles of men and women, very close. The original word jancha, it just means the style. You can have a gender of music. It's the same word as genre. You know that, right? Like, it's the same word. They mean the same thing. So you can have a gender of music. So somebody can like country music. I'm a musician. I played country music with people like Lee Greenwood, if you know who that is, very popular country music artist who did the I'm Proud to Be an American song. I played music with or well, I didn't play with him. I've opened up for a Kirk Franklin or a what's my man's name? All of me loves all of you. John Legend, right? I've had the opportunity to play with many great musicians. I had a chance to play with Gloria Stefan. I had a chance to play with oh, I can't believe I'm forgetting something there. Anyways, though, right? I'm not a musician that much anymore. I don't get to play that much, but it's a genre. You said, okay, but Latin origins of words are used on language today. Language evolves. No, language changes into what you want it to be. So that's what you want gender to mean. But I'm saying that I go by origin all the time, just like universe. Don't tell me about something universal. Universal has to be a single way of thought. Now, if you, in your culture, the culture that you subscribe to, it seems like you subscribe to a culture that can make whatever you want, however you want. That's why a lot of people are into God. God is a Germanic form of deity or spirit, and gods can be whatever you want them to be. You can have a God. In God we trust. That's your money. So you can make money your God, and what you think can be your God. So like I said, this is cultural. If you are saying, why are you only representing one culture, it's because that's what I'm doing in this particular context. I think I have the right to do that, just like you seem like you're saying that you have the right to represent yours. You said, so we need an agreement on meaning? Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Through in the prism of the cultural context in which I'm speaking of the tribe that I represent, this is what we mean when we say this word. Now, if you feel like it's okay, because like, for example, there's a gender of Greek stuff called platonic relationships. Platonic relationships comes from Plato. Plato was somebody that said a 40-something-year-old man should be in relationship with a 12-year-old boy because he thought that marriage between a male and a female was the worst gender of relationship you could have. So that's why they treated women like crap, because they chased after little boys. That's why they dressed them in high heel shoes. High heel shoes were not for women originally, they were for little boys because they like goats and they like children. That's why you call them a kid. You call them a kid today because kids are not children, kids are baby goats. You see? So even if you want to say the origin doesn't have anything to do with it, the fact that you like your kids to do things and don't like your children to do things, that's something that comes from somebody's culture. And that's what I'm trying to talk about today. right? I promise you, I'm not somebody who was always raised with a certain belief only or this and that. I promise you, I'm not somebody, I was never atheist, but I was definitely agnostic for a huge part of my life. I promise you, like, I didn't just come into this randomly. Like, all these things go together. So if you're going to talk about a kid, I'm making sure my kids go to this. You're calling them baby goats. Why do you call them baby goats? Why do you not call them children? You're calling them baby goats because there's a culture that influences the way that you speak even to this day. Why is it that this thing that you're fighting for the gender is there? Right? Why is it the fight for the gender? You're only talking about this. I keep saying over and over again, this is my tribe, my culture, this is what we go by. You said, what role can someone play in the village if they don't want marriage? Well, you don't have to be married. Nobody even said you had to be married. But we believe in our culture it's most important that everybody be married to the Most High, which means that we still are tied to the same person, regardless of whether we're married or not. But see, that's not what we're talking about. You're arguing something that wasn't my argument. And that's kind of my point, is that even in my culture, if we let this become something else, somebody's trying to dictate terms of what I mean and what we would mean. I'm not romantic. I don't have Roman antics. So dating is something that's foreign to me. If it's righteous to you, then so be it. But not, but doing something, going out with somebody without thinking about marriage in mind. And in our culture is different too. In our culture, marriage is sex, sex is marriage. So I abstained from marriage or sex until I was qualified to have it. I'm sorry, you said, but I'm telling people as children, they are being prepared for husband and wife roles. Exactly. Within my culture, we are being prepared for the roles of husbands and wives according to what we do. Once again, once I hit 21 years old, guess what my father is supposed to do? Here's your inheritance, son. Go get your land. Make sure that you build up business. Make sure that you're aware of what's going to need to happen if you ever should find a wife. Make sure that you're prepared for things like that. By the way, you don't like we don't even know. For example, in something like in the Bible, because we don't know how culture works, right? We just say things randomly. In the Bible, when it says, "Beloved, let not your heart be troubled. You believe in the Father, also believeth in me. In my Father's house there are many mansions." May I ask you this? May I ask you this, built justice? You said if somebody doesn't want that, well, if somebody doesn't want that, they can leave and go somewhere else where it's accepted. I don't comprehend. Like, we don't have a jail or a prison. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you decided that you don't want it, then you don't want it. I think we're having an argument about something that's not my argument. Like, it's not a problem for me. Like, obviously you don't agree with what I agree with, right? So would I ever expect that you have to live by that? Of course not. You said I kicked my children out. My children live by what I live by. I don't you see what I'm saying? Like, I think your whole thing is like we have a bunch of children that are being forced to everything, and all of them want to be gay, or all of them want to be single, or all want to be transgender, or all of them, like a heavy majority of them. Like, do you know how the Amish work? Do you know how the Amish works? Like, you know that the Amish, once they get to a certain point, you don't have to stay Amish. You don't have to stay without technology. They let you go and live with other people. They expose you to how other people live, and you don't even have to be with them. Go look at what they do and see if the values that we've taught you after you've been out there for usually a year, 2 years at the most, but usually a year. Go out there, be separate from us. We'll give you money and everything. Do what you do. If you end up having sex out there, whatever, hey, go out there and find out what it is. And if you see that what we've been telling you is wrong and you feel like you want to live outside of it, you can go. Now, guess how many people actually leave and never stay Amish? It's a very small percentage. And people have a right to be able to do what they want with their traditions, their cultures, etc. Uh-oh, you're saying start young. Can the child stay in the family and not want marriage? I literally just said that, yeah, that they can stay in the family and not want to be married. I don't understand. At this point, we're not actually conversing. We're just arguing for the sake of arguing. No offense to you. I might be doing a poor job of explanation. I'm just saying, like, we got to have something. You see, it's a different algorithm, which is the point of the context of this whole thing today. Is I'm not going by the algorithm of whatever it is. It seems like you're being very Eurocentric in thought process or whatever. Not coming against you, just that's what it seems like. Like, yeah, it's very much so you're telling me that I'm saying it's my way or the highway. I will tell you with the quickness that this life that I live is not for everybody. Exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Minister Tamara. You have free will. The Most High can't stop your free will. There's consequences to every decision that you make. There's great consequences. There's negative consequences. I've never said that somebody has to be married. Matter of fact, if you read the teachings of Paul, Paul was never married. So that wouldn't equate. How could I follow somebody who's never married if I believe everybody has to be married, male or female? It's a different algorithm. And normally I wouldn't even go this long on one particular person, but I'm giving you that right. And I thank you for giving these questions, but I'm giving you that right because you're basically just showing what it is that we're talking about, an algorithm of particular people. Algorithms, that things that attract our people, things that don't attract. All right. So if my son, like for example, my son has never had his hair cut and won't, as long as he's right. But if he decides to go out somewhere, even though it would hurt me, if he decides to go out somewhere and he cuts his hair right, when he's on his own, he has the right to. But there are certain things that you don't do when you're in my house, right? Like you can be somebody like we don't really do homosexuality in our culture, but you can be somebody who's gay. You come into my house, that's cool. But I'm sorry, like I train my children a certain way. You're not going to be like holding on to each other, doing some kind of pelvic thrust or dry humping or anything like that around my child. You're just not. No shade towards you, by the way. I don't think you should do that at anybody's house. I shouldn't, because I'm straight, go to your house and you raising the child and I'm doing dry humping and stuff like that around your child. But we're talking about the algorithm of an Israelite woman and the culture that many people try to live in, Eurocentric culture. Like a lot of people feel like women don't need to be represented as far as what they believe and what they agree upon, what they're raised in. Why am I wrong for representing them? See, that's another thing. Here's another thing that's interesting to me, and all the stuff that you're doing. I don't think that you caught that there's a lot, if you're still on. I don't know if you're still on or not, but I don't think that you caught that there's a lot of Israelite women on here who are telling you that they don't agree or they don't disagree with what I'm saying. By the way, a lot of them who have taught me the things that I know. Because I'm not just talking to the people that I don't know on here, which might be part of the context you don't recognize either, is that these are people who talk to each other and meet each other and are trying to live with each other and growing together and go out of their way to meet each other with each other several times out the year. You know, so it's not, it's just, so people just making this thing up where it's like you're trying to, you said patriarchy is firmly upheld by women every day. Sure. So is matriarchy. Just like misogyny is a problem, so is misandry. Right? What does that have to do with what we're talking about? Have I demanded that you have to bow down to what I say one time? You're still being able to be in the conversation, even though you keep trying to tell me how wrong I am about everything. And I simply just say, no, the way that we live, this is how we do things. Right? In my culture, watch this. In my culture, any man who tries to control a woman is a witch. And in my culture, witches deserve to be put to death. Does that sound like patriarchy to you? If a man were to try and control your life and speak negative thoughts, if I don't put him to death, those words got to be put to death. Is that patriarchy or is that fighting for you? Is that hatred or is that love? That's how my culture rolls. Now you're trying to conflate something and correlate something and make something act like something's corresponding to something else, and there's no correspondence, right? If somebody put their hands on you and you my sister, right? In this world, I can't do it. In the way that y'all live, y'all would be dating somebody. He put your hands on them, and then when I would try to go and see about him, y'all would be upset with me or whatever, and y'all try and put me in jail. Y'all try to beat me up. But in our culture, put your hands on one of these sisters and see what happened to you. I almost got in trouble when we had our convocation last year, and there was a sister, and she, one of our sisters, and there was a guy that mistreated her, and I got up from the table. We were doing a live session with all of us around. Got up and went looking for her. And my brother followed me over there too. Minister Joseph, he followed me over there too. And I had to remember where I was, what was going to happen, and if everybody was going to find out on the live that Pastor Kofi was going to jail. But I talked to him and let him know. And they had a whole family out there with a bunch of these brothers, a bunch of white brothers. It was a racism thing. Bunch of brothers. And I made sure it was known. I was like, bump that sister again. You know who I'm talking to. I was looking at him. She told me who it was. I was like, bump that sister again. Say something new again. Don't apologize again. I promise you. that you're gonna have problems with me, right? Now you would say, because I would say that she shouldn't date in our culture, you would try to say that I am being a patriarch. Which, by the way, patriarch in our culture just means that you're the head father. And we have matriarchs, we have head mothers, we have women that are over the golden stool or over the golden throne. We have no problem with that. But so to say that these women are upholding patriarchy, that's a heck of a statement to say, even if that's not what your original intent was. That's a heck of a statement to make because these sisters agree. And so your response is, well, just because they agree doesn't mean that they don't uphold patriarchy. It's a different algorithm, right? We believe in this word called holy. Holy means to be whole. Put a W before that H. It means to be one. Alav, Aleph, Abba, Father. By the way, even in heaven, there's no male nor female in heaven. So when I talk about our Father, you must comprehend the context. I'm not even talking about a male because you have to be physical to be a male. So if he's in heaven, he can't be male or female. So even he doesn't mean he all the time. Just like the word man doesn't mean male. Man means spirit. A human is a spirit inside of a humus, dark, rich, nutrient earth. And then a soul was breathed inside of him so that it would become humus, physical, spirit, man, and soul, breath. Even in the Greek, they would call it psyche or psychology. Psychology is literally the study of the soul. That's why I'm talking about the original form of words. And in all those things that I said, the one time did I say, you are out of place, woman? Not one time did I say that because I want to uplift you. You've got more time than probably several people have in about 100 lives straight. Did I do that because I'm a patriarch? Or in my culture, if I am a patriarch, right, a male of a specific role, then I should make sure that you get to be a matriarch by securing that role. Even if the role is to ask questions, I should make you feel secure enough in that role. That's what I did. See, so a patriarch, that's why I said it's all cultural. Patriarch for me does not mean somebody. See, what y'all call patriarchy, it's like when people say white supremacy. I don't believe, first of all, there's no such thing as a color white. The color white is the absence of color, right? The color white is reflective of color. The color white means you can see through it. The color white means it has no color. So there's no such thing as a white person because every person has to have melanin in order to survive. You can't be white by definition. But if somebody says you're supreme because you're white, I know what y'all mean, but I don't believe anybody's supreme just because of the color or lack thereof of their skin. And I don't believe that white means pure or white means fair skin. I don't believe that either. Right? There's a wholeness to it. Right? I don't believe that all skin folk are kinfolk. Just because you're black don't mean that I should treat you any better than because you're white. And also I shouldn't trust you just because you're black. Just because you're a man, I shouldn't trust you more than I trust you because you're a woman. It's a different culture. That's what we're talking about. The algorithm. There's an algorithm for an Israelite queen. Now, if you're not an Israelite queen, nor do you want to be one, then hey, like this algorithm might not be yours. And we still respect your life. And even if you try to depreciate what it is, we comprehend that when people depreciate others, especially without full knowledge of what they do, the word knowledge meaning intimacy, then that just appreciates us in value. Because if somebody doesn't even comprehend how we live, but you're trying to tell me what I mean, then that doesn't make sense. That's why I can never judge you fully because I don't 100% know what you mean by you writing a sentence here or there, even though I gave you a lot of sentences to write. But we live by a different standard, and your standard clearly is not ours, and ours clearly is not yours. So I don't expect you to live by it. So once again, why would I? See, now here's the thing. You're like, so if somebody doesn't want to, and if this is really what we mean, right? And thank you for the love, appreciate it. And thank you everybody for being on. Whether you agree with us or disagree with us, thank you for being on. Here's what really was going on, right? Because I do life coaching, marital coaching, been doing so for a couple decades plus. And this is what really was going on when we were talking, right? Really, it was more a conversation like this. Well, if somebody doesn't want to live by your regulations, but they want to live in your house still, and they want to be able to be in your community still and all this stuff, why don't you just let them be there? Well, if somebody disagrees with stuff, they can live, sure. But like, why would I have somebody upset a whole community? And why would I try to have them hold on to something that upsets them every day? Why does it make sense? Right? So if I have somebody that's going to be in a community to where people are going to look at them a certain way, like for example, let's say we had a community where everybody of many different colors, many different nations, many different tongues, which I believe should be something that people should aspire to eventually at some point, right? All of them live together. But then there's like 5 people that live there that let's go in the opposite. This isn't what you're coming from, but let's just talk about this. What if you said judgment is fear? No. If you go to a steakhouse and you want your steak to be done medium rare and they do it well done, or it's built or it's burned or it's charred, don't you have a right to judge that steak and say, hey, give me another one? That's not fear. That's making sure that you right? You mean fear, because fear for us is something different too. Fear in my culture just means respect. You mean to be afraid, right? I'm not afraid of the steak because you said that's evaluation, not judgment. What is judgment then? What's the definition of judgment? Do you not evaluate something to judge? Don't you need? You see what I'm saying? Now we're just getting to a place where it's an argument for the sake of arguing. So I appreciate you being on. I'm not going to argue with you just for the sake of arguing, though. And you've gotten a lot of time, and I've allowed it as much as you think that you should have just automatically be given or whatever. I allowed what it is, but you're saying, it's discernment, not judgment. It's no. Like, how do you judge something? Do you have to have a standard to evaluate what you're judging? This is when it becomes the issue. This is when it becomes an issue. You said judgment needs to assess another human as less than. Okay. So if another human being kills another human being, right, should they not be judged? And should we not make sure that we give them things when they go ahead and get judged to make sure that we can judge them as being worthy of being able to come back out into the street? You don't even believe that. If somebody rapes a woman, should they be judged? Let's just keep it a buck. Because I judge the mess out of you. Touch my woman the wrong way. See what happened to you. I'll judge you. And I'll judge you according to this. Right? Because a man that won't take care of his wife is less than an infidel. See, you're not talking about an algorithm. It gets to a point to where you don't care about being righteous. You just want to be right. You see all that? That's why I was trying to talk about the algorithm of an Israelite queen. It's different. She's just trying to be right. She's trying to win. Right? The Bible says if you won't take care of your wife, then you're less than an infidel. Why is it that I have somebody who's on here trying their best to tell me that I shouldn't take care of my wife and I shouldn't protect her? But then you'll turn around and say that I'm a patriarch because I don't want to protect you. It doesn't make sense. Pride leads before the fall. See, it's a different algorithm. I'm not moved. I'm not going to say I'm not moved at all, but I'm not going to move my position because somebody's so busy trying to be right. You're in a world where it doesn't even make sense. Like, watch this. An Israelite queen is not going to sit up there and tell you, hey, I want to make sure that you value me. But then I say, I value you enough to protect you. And you say, well, don't protect me. But then I don't protect you. And you say, why don't you value me? It doesn't make sense. And a lot of brothers are trying their best to make sure they value you, but you say value me, but don't protect me, but then protect me, but then because you don't value me. But guess what? I've done this before. I've worked security. I've worked security at many military installations. I worked at them in war times around the world, domestic, foreign, etc. If I'm going to work security for you, there's one or two things that you got to ask for. Either you want me to secure you, you want me to give you security, fine, or do you want me to give you convenience? If you want me to give you convenience, I can't always secure you. I can try to make it as convenient as possible. But if you need to make sure that this base is protected, there's some things that in order to get in and out of this base, there's some things that you're going to have to go through. I might need to see your military ID every time. I might need to make sure that I check under your car on certain days because we've gotten bomb threats. I might need to tell you that your family can't come on today, right? When September 11th happened, I was in the military at the time. September 11th happens, guess what happened? You can't come in the gate and you can't even leave out because we got to search everybody. So, hey, if you like me, young brother, didn't have his own place and they shut it down and nobody can even make food for anything on there, hopefully y'all got some chips or something to make it for a couple of weeks because y'all just going to have to figure this out because security means that some of your convenience going to have to go. You might have to fast. You might have to go on a fast. You wasn't even ready for a fast, but you're going to have to fast for a couple of weeks because we're going to shut it down. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm sorry if it's not convenient to you, but right now is the time for convenience. Now is the time for what? For security. So you're gonna have to allow me to secure some things in order to make sure that you're convenient. That's why I was talking about in our culture that we make sure that husbands have certain things together financially even before they meet the queen, because part of what the queen's gonna need is what? Security. That it is what it is. You can't just randomly, I don't care who you are, you can't just randomly show up to the Eisenhower. It's not even a ship that we use that much anymore, but you ain't gonna be able to just get up on the Eisenhower like that, or not use the same way we used to use, rather. But you ain't just gonna get up on the Eisenhower and just run around. You think you're gonna get up on the Reagan and just walk around however you want? You think you're just gonna come somewhere where there's a stealth bomber and you just gonna walk up or all around it and take pictures and stuff like that? That's not how that works. You don't get to just get pictures with a stealth bomber. It's supposed to be secure information on it. You can't just walk up in there and look at it. There's security involved. There's boundaries. Yes, there's no such thing as unconditional love. Because even the person who's on here demanding unconditional love from me keeps telling me there's conditions, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no unconditional love. You have all these guys. That's why I said be careful who you listen to. Y'all listen to these guys who come up on here and talking about, you know what, a man can't get. Chris Rock did this a while ago, and I like Chris Rock. I like his comedy. But y'all remember Chris Rock came out there? Oh man, you know what? A man can't even get the love of a dog because a dog gets unconditional love. You're not a dog, number one. Number two, dogs don't get unconditional love. Don't they have to obey? And you have to teach them that they're not number one in the pack so that they'll obey. Because if you make them think that they're number one in the pack, then they'll go ahead and treat you like they're number one. And that means they might tear you up. They might tear your children up. Matter of fact, there's certain dogs you're not supposed to get unless you're really ready for them. You don't believe in unconditional love, nor should you. It's not lawful. Even people talking about, well, judgment. The sister who's on judgment is necessary. Judgment. You're so judging. Judging is saying that so you're lesser than somebody else. And then I say, well, what about the state? Oh, well, that's not judging. That's evaluation. So what are judgments based off of? Is there something you're supposed to evaluate to judge somebody? Yeah. Once again, it's missing. You're missing the whole thing. You're missing something called law. You're missing something called law. Law doesn't give rights. You have the right to do whatever you want, but law protects rights. If you want to do whatever you want in your culture, do that over there. But we have laws to protect us from that. See, the algorithm of an Israelite queen is based upon law. Why? Because a mother in our culture, she lays down the law. And it's really weird that she kept missing that part when she was arguing. It's just really odd to me. Like, did you miss the whole thing as far as like mothers lay down the law? My wife tells me this is what we're going to do inside the house. You know why? Because I give direction. And then she says, okay, Negro, you want this direction to be followed? These are the laws that I need because I'm going to be the one taking care of the house. Okay. Back up. No problem. You listen to my direction. You said these are the laws that we're going to go by. You even tell me, like, right? I love it when my wife says we're going to lay down this law and she give me this. I love it when she lay down law. And love is action, by the way. I didn't say I like it. I said I love it. See, y'all in this whole like thing. If I like it, I'm not concerned about it. Like, y'all act like I like everything I say. Or I like to do everything that I do. Like, sometimes I don't like doing this. Not just this. I'm talking about, like, sometimes I don't like having to do what a husband's supposed to do, but I have to do it. I love it. If I don't like myself when I get up, y'all call it getting up on the wrong side of the bed. If I get up on the wrong side of the bed in the rising, I still have to love my wife. If I don't like my money situation, I still have to love these bills. See, it's a different context, a different culture, right? Love is a duty. It's a command. It's a requirement. Like might happen today and it might be gone tomorrow, but love is consistent. Love is obedience. Like is a sacrifice. A lot of y'all sacrifice one time and they want to tell me about how powerful it was. But love is obedience. I do it whether I like it or not. You hear what I'm saying? Every once in a while, you see what I'm saying? That's why I don't mind talking back and forth with people, because at the end of the day, what they're expecting is they're going to do something that's going to say, hey, stop being culturally accurate. And I have to be culturally accurate. And what you'll find is these people don't even live up to their own standard because they don't live up to a culture. Culture demands standard every time, no matter what, no matter how you feel. Culture demands standard, and you're fighting for standards. Somebody mentioned earlier, you got to know math. Well, maths, that was the point I was making, is even in English, right? They don't say math. They say, you said, let's do the maths. They don't say let's do the math. They say let's do the maths. That's proper English, right? That's actually proper English. Let's do the maths, because it's not called mathematic. It's called mathematics. Let's be whole is what they're saying. Let's get the whole thing. And a lot of people don't want the whole thing. They want a piece of a thing, right? You want a piece of something, right? I'm a big boy. I don't really eat pizza like that anymore because I don't really do dairy. And right now in the season, I'm not supposed to be doing Leaven anyway. But if I do a pizza, I'm a big boy. I'm 6'5.5", right? I'm a big boy, right? I'm 6'5.5". If I eat a pizza, don't be giving me a slice. I don't care what size it is. If it's an extra large, if it's a small, if it's whatever, I'm a big boy. I ain't trying to deal with no slice. Like, give your boy a pizza. Like, you might need to get a pizza. It might feed 4 other people with that one pizza. I'm gonna need a pizza because I might be able to knock that out today. You know what I'm saying? Like don't come. Like, I'm not saying I don't appreciate when somebody give me a meal or something, but I'm just saying, like, if I got my choice and you say, hey, how many slices you want? I'm gonna be like, slices. You know what I'm saying? Slices. No. I need that. I need that. Right. But if I'm gonna do that, if I'm gonna demand that, guess what I gotta do? Guess what the algorithm requires? If I'm gonna do that, guess what I gotta do? If that's what the algorithm requires, then guess what I gotta do? I gotta be able to provide for that. I'm not saying give me that, right? And I ain't gonna put in. I got something to put in. I'm gonna make sure you secure. If that's the direction, give me the whole slice. Then there's provision for that. That's why we can't be partial with this. We can't just do what you feel like, right? Even um uh Yohanan or John the Revelator, right? The disciple, the writer of John, 1 John, 2 John, 3 John, and Revelation. That's why he did what? He was required to eat the whole scroll, not a piece. Amen, Charles. Yeah, exactly. And whoever that sister is, may Yah bless her comprehension and her understanding. And Acham Yahweh, Acham Yashua, Acham Ravak HaKodesh, Aman. Right? Like, Barak Allah Acham At Achiat, even to that sister. Right? Hopefully she continues to do those things. Right? But I'm just saying, I shouldn't necessarily eat a whole pizza. Right? I'm just saying, if I do go out and eat pizza, right, I don't care if it's vegan, whatever, your boy gonna need more than just a slice. Right. But in your life, you got to recognize how big and how powerful you are, sisters, that you need more than just a slice. And brothers, you got to realize she need more than just a slice. She's attracted to a mission. How whole is your mission? How whole is your vision? Are you a visionary? Are you a visionary? You got 1 degree that you put on your wall, or do you realize there's 360 degrees in a circle? Do you realize that your wife is going to have to look in all different directions? You want her to be able to do this and do this. Okay. Well, in every direction, then you got to have some degrees. She's coming in with some degrees of knowledge. Are you willing to listen to her and learn from her too? But also, do you have some degrees to make sure that what she doesn't know is there? And what both of y'all don't know, will you turn to a higher source in both of you? And if that means that you have to go to some classes or some different things. One of the classes that is becoming abundantly clear to me that we got to bring back for the second semester coming up. It won't be the first weekend or the first Monday of April. It'll be the second Monday of April. So I think that's like April 10th or something. Probably when we're going to start up the next semester. And one of the things that we definitely got to bring back is marriage. Because whether you're single or not, you need to have marriage class. You know why? Because you need to know what a husband or wife is. And you don't have a whole comprehension of it. You keep getting pieces of it and you're arguing. Like, for example, the person kept saying, over and over again. She kept saying, well, what if somebody doesn't want to be married? In our culture, you missed it. I told you already. We are all married to the Most High. No such thing as a single person out here. Somebody talking about I'm single and lonely. I don't want to be single when I go before the club. The reason why you don't want to be at the club and be single after a certain way is because you think you're going to look stupid being single. Problem is you don't look stupid because you're supposed to be married already. I was married before I walked down an aisle. You're not thinking of this culture though. And the culture you're in, you're something that's different. You said I'm writing the paper for a class on the generational effects of individuals' unawareness of culture. Yeah, culture is everything. Matter of fact, you can't have interpretation without culture. You know that, right? Like if you look up the lawful definition of interpretation, you will discover, matter of fact, let's just look it up. Let's just look up as far as a law dictionary. Law dictionary, and I'm sorry, my hands are freezing. Law dictionary definition of interpretation. I can't even type, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm trying. All right. Let's go to, I don't even normally use this one. We'll use Princeton University one, and then we'll go to another one that I'm more familiar with, right? We'll go to Black's Law Dictionary as well. Let's look up Princeton's University, one of the best universities, one of the best universities when it comes to law. Right? Let's look up what they have to say. I don't even necessarily care for them like that, but let's look at what they say. All right, you ready? This says that interpretation is law. Wait a minute, what is it? Interpretation is law. Wait a minute, what is it? It's not what you feel like. It's not what you want. It's not what you desire. It's not what you want everybody to agree with. No, interpretation. In law. Interpretation in law. You can't look at it outside of law. I said is. Sorry, you can't look at it outside of law. So it's not what you feel. It's not what you want. It's not what you thought. It's interpretation in law is a rational process by which we understand a text. What? So I cannot rationalize it without what? Proper interpretation, especially when it comes to what? Law. All right, it says through, this is still Princeton's definition, through interpretation, we come to know the normative message of a text. In other words, the text, we have to figure out what is normally, when they were saying that, or what is being said, the prism, the time, all that stuff, what is normal within that stuff. Lawfully, what would they normally do? Through the interpretation, we become to know the normative message. So what is the normalcy? What is the common law? What is the community aspect of it? What do the people who are in this do? It is right. So through interpretation, we come to know the normative message of a text. It is a process that extracts what? It extracts what? The legal meaning of the text from its semantic meaning. So you're getting into semantics. What if somebody doesn't want to get married? What if somebody that's not law? If they don't want to follow the law, then they can't be where you follow the law. Watch it. If you don't want to follow traffic laws as far as traffic signals, you got to go to a country where they don't have that many, or you got to go to a part of the country where they don't have that many. Anywhere else, if a police officer sees you run a red light or run a stop sign, guess what they get to do? They get to pull you over because it's law. Right? If you don't want to pay taxes, you either got to be a non-citizen national or you got to stop shopping at places where taxes are required. Why? Because they don't take the taxes away from you. That's not lawful. You said in the context of scripture, men are both husbands and wives simultaneously. They're wives of the Most High and they're husbands. But when we talk about the Most High, and when you talk about heaven, there's not marriage in heaven as far as like two people become a husband and wife. It's a contextual thing, right? That's context. It's a contextual thing. It's trying to give you an earthly principle to reflect a spiritual principle, a physical thing to help you with a spiritual thing, right? So the physical thing of marriage, everything is based off of the spiritual thing of marriage. And the two becoming one is the spirit and the physical coming together to meet. That's why the kingdom of heaven can be inside me and simultaneously be up above me, right? And that's how I can be a husband to my wife and still be a wife to my husband. Even in heaven, there is no male or female in heaven in our culture. So we don't consider, when we say he, we don't always think that that's male. If I'm talking about he on earth, though, then I have to think about male and female, right? All right. So it extracts the legal meaning from the semantic. See, we'll get so caught up on the semantics. We're so spiritual, we're so mystical semantics that we're not practical, lawful, practically in law. How does it work, right? Here's the next part. It even says this, still the Princeton definition. 13 interpreters translate the human language into legal language. I'm sorry, interpreters translate the human language into legal language. So you got to comprehend humanity is dealing in law, but corporations are dealing in legal. Now let's look up Black's Law Dictionary real quick. What does Black's Law Dictionary say about interpretation? What does Black's Law Dictionary say about interpretation? They ain't ready for this. Let's keep on going. What does Black's Law Dictionary say about interpretation? It says this. It says that this is what interpretation is according to Black's Law Dictionary, the most widely recognized and used dictionary in law around the West. So if you live in the West or anything influenced by the West, this is what you're using. Well, what does it say about interpretation? How to interpret the algorithm? How to interpret what we believe? What does it say? It says it is the art or process of discovering and expounding the intended signification of the language used, i.e., a statute, will, contract, or any other written document, that is, the meaning which the author designed to convey to others. Let's break that down. It is the art, it's the way that we can paint something out for somebody, homiletical speech, even, right? Or the process. That means there's a process to it. You can't just do whatever you want. You got to go through it of discovering. We're going to discover. It's covered. We're going to take it out. Just like we learned about in that Princeton definition. We're going to extract what was there. Right? We're going to discover. We're going to take the scales off your eyes right now. People don't want to hear it, but this is the truth. It's the art or process of discovering and expounding. That means now we got to go deeper. Once it's uncovered, we got to dive into it and expounding. Watch this, the intended signification of the language. That means that it's not significant if you don't know what they actually intended to say in the language they spoke. So stop telling me that language, right, as was being said earlier, right? Don't tell me that language evolved. Pull up on me if you want, right? But I'm spraying you with these words right now to let you know, like, stop telling me, right? Stop trying to spray this. You ain't gonna be able to touch this. I got the armor on right now. Like, you can't interpret according to law. You cannot interpret law if you don't know how it was intended. If you don't know how it was intended, then what you're saying is insignificant because you don't even know the language that was used. You hear what I'm saying? Do you know the language that was used? Do you know that the first book of the Bible is not called Genesis? So if you don't know that, then how can you interpret what it means? Do you know what it is when we talk about the algorithm of an Israelite queen? If you don't know what Israel did with their queens, then you can't tell me what it means. Do you know anything about marriage outside of what somebody told you when you were playing with Barbies and stuff, right? Or what somebody told you as far as Oprah and book clubs, and Oprah can't even get married because she's not trying to really be? That's why she got Stedman living in different houses so she can make sure that they're not ever going to be considered to be married, even by common law. Is that your standard? You don't know the language. You don't know the tongue. And it's always amazing to me, some of these people speak in tongues but don't know how to interpret. How are you going to speak in a tongue and you don't know how to interpret? You can't interpret without what? Knowing the intended signification of the language. Do you know what barashat is? That's the first word of the Bible. That's what the first book of the Bible is called, or what you call a book, the first scrolls. That's what the first scroll is called, or first set of scrolls. Barashat, it's 6 characters long. Each character has a meaning. It's bit, aleph, resh, shin, yod, Tav. It means the son who comes out the right family, who's one with the Father, becomes our head by being destroyed, being led by the Holy Spirit to the cross. It is the very first word of the Bible. But you say, some of y'all say you don't believe in Trinity. Some of y'all say you don't believe he died on the cross. Some of y'all say that you don't believe the Holy Spirit is equal. Some of y'all don't believe that, in the alphabet, or the significance of if it's not in the alphabet, but the aleph-bet came before the alphabet. There's so many things that are answered in the first word. But you can't interpret the first word. So if you can't, now watch this. If you can't interpret the first word of Yah, because y'all are telling me that you know about Yah. If you can't interpret the first word of Yah, question, how can you interpret how to handle his daughter and to make sure that she is treated like the Israelite queen she's supposed to be? Just interpretation. If you don't know the first word, how are you going to tell me how to take care of his queen? Because ultimately, whatever you are responsible for is not yours. You cannot control what you serve. You cannot serve what you control. I can't control the Israelite queen. I can serve her. She cannot control me. She can serve me. I mean, these are just observations I have listening to the text, listening to what's going on, paying attention to what's going on. That's just a simple question. Like, how do you serve what you control? You control what you serve. You're so busy trying to control the narrative. You don't want to be righteous, right, lawful standing. You want to be right, but you can't even be right because you don't have the correct what? The correct interpretation. You said TikTok is freezing. Okay, hold on one second. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. All right, hopefully we got that fixed. All right. I don't know. Right. But you got people that are doing all this stuff and they're trying to get you to be about this and be about that. Hopefully this works better. Hopefully this works better. But, you know, you got all these things going on. You got all these things that you're talking about and saying this and saying that and trying to be controlling and doing all these things or whatever. I'm trying to tell you, like, you don't know the first word, but a shot. You don't know what it means. You don't know that it's talking about. So if you don't know the first word, how can you talk about marriage and you don't know the first word? How can you talk about being a living sacrifice and you don't know what those words mean? How can you talk about being a royal priesthood? Do you not know that there's only one word for royalty and one word for priesthood? They got to be used the same. So when it says you're a royal priesthood, it's telling you that basically you can't be royalty without being a priest. You can't be priest without being royalty. It is interpretation. And we're trying to talk about algorithm. How do you interpret an algorithm with no standard? Somebody said, that the argument made earlier is that evaluation is different than judgment, but you can't make a judgment if you don't know how to evaluate. All right, I don't know. Some people, if people are saying you're still losing me, I don't know. I just switched from the phone to Wi-Fi, so I don't know. If everybody's saying they're losing us, then it's telling me I got signal all the way green. So I don't know. I apologize if it's not working. But I'm just trying to tell you. I'm just trying to tell you, like, you in the wrong position. You in the wrong place, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. You're in the wrong place. You're in the wrong place of thought. If that's your thought process, hear what I'm saying. If your thought process is what is that I have to, if your thought process says that I'm going to not be able to interpret the words they used, and yet at the same time I'm going to tell you what they meant, then you're in the wrong place. Okay, amen. Right, you're in the wrong place. You're in the wrong place. And that's all it is, right? Like, so that's why we always tell everybody there's a culture being represented here. I'm not speaking to you about something random. I'm talking to you about something that I live. I'm not talking to you about something that's random. I'm telling you about something that I live. These people lived it. You won't even live marriage. So you're like, watch this. There's not a person who's single in the spirit. So the person even that's not married in the physical still comprehends marriage. right? There's not a single person. There's not a single person who, if you're married in the spirit, should not have a hunger and a desire to become better at marriage. But people go, well, I don't care about marriage because I'm not going to be with a man. I'm not going to be with a woman again. If you married in the spirit, then you need to find out about marriage. You need to know the algorithm. We started off a lot is by making sure we comprehend, we know what attracts. You keep talking about the law of attraction. Have you not recognized that the law of attraction has to do with you? The Most High in you, sure. The kingdom in you, sure. But you, who are you? Is over there, working over there. Okay, cool. Right? Like, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Who do you represent? What culture do you represent? This is part of the algorithm problem. What culture do you represent? I'm not expecting you who are not trying to make sure that you are treating people in your community, let alone husbands, with respect, or saying that people can only respect you when you get to do whatever you want. But then people have to respect you by making sure that they don't do whatever they want around you. I'm not expecting that. Hey, how you doing? Peace, King. I'm not expecting that from you. It doesn't make sense for me to expect people who don't want to respect each other and respect other people's cultures, but then to come to my culture and try to be. But then here's the wild part, though. You expected my culture, and we do this, but you expected my culture to respect you and respect whatever you want to do. Now, here's the problem: is that let's just keep it 100. This is the real problem, right? And forgive me for if this is too brass or whatever, or brash, excuse me, or whatever. But here's the real problem: is that most of y'all, or at least most people who try to disconnect from what we're saying, most of them have no culture. That is the problem. How can you have an algorithm if there's no culture? See, you don't want to talk about culture. Your algorithm is based off of your culture, right? Like, there's a reason why some of you guys hear some Indian music, and unless it sounds close enough to American music, y'all try to make fun of it. You know why? Because it's not your culture. There's a reason why some of y'all hear Chinese music and you think that, oh, it's funny sounding or this and that or whatever. No, it's not your culture. It ain't funny to them. There's a reason why some of you, when you go to a Thai restaurant and you start looking on the screen, you see certain things, you think that's weird because it's not your culture. You said you wonder how long it takes. It takes as long as we want it to, at least. But here's the blessing of it. No matter how long it takes, we always can start the journey, right? See, we have no culture, and we're trying to argue about stuff without a cultural reference point. We have all these cultural inferences, but we're trying to argue things without a cultural reference point, and they have become feckless. Feckless. It's become feckless. Look up that word. It means that you're arguing something trying to come from an emotional place or whatever, but it has no point. It has no relevance. Right? You want is right. We watch this. We have become so inclusive of cultures that we don't actually live by a culture and become redundancy. Right? Like think about that. The reason why it's so difficult for people to sit and learn, like, you have become so inclusive of all things that you don't have a prism to see all things. A melting pot. Somebody says, "Well, wait a minute. That don't even quite make sense." Hear what I just said. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Right? You have become so inclusive of all things that you actually don't have a single prism so you can see all things. Somebody still doesn't get it. If I have 25 pairs of glasses, all different prescriptions, and I were to put on all the glasses at the same time and try to see through all of them, can I see clearly? Will you be able to see clearly? If I put on everybody's prism, if I put on all people's prescriptions, all 25, and I say I'm going to try to look through all of them to see what's going on, will I be able to see? Even if I see, it definitely won't be clearly. and it'll probably make me very sick, and it'll probably hurt myself. I'll probably give myself a headache, might mess around and cause my vision to be messed up for a really, really long time. Right? But if I can put on the right prescription that's designed specifically for me, and I put it on, it's going to work a lot better, is it not? Because if I'm going to see, I need a singular prism. I need a singular focus. I need a singular culture to be able to see. And most people have never looked through a prism without having 75 different pairs of glasses on. Right? Your child hates school. You want me to help you out with why they hate school? They say they don't like it, but then you get on them and you're like, you got to do your homework. And you want to know why they don't like school? I'm sorry, you said like elders used to say stand for something or you fall for anything. I'm not. Choose you this day. Right? This is why your children say they hate school. This is why you didn't like school. Because you had to learn so many cultures and they were all getting pieces of them and none of it really made sense. And then they like locked you up in it. They put you at a desk, a cubicle all day. It was like you was in prison. You couldn't leave the door and you couldn't even use the bathroom, even if you needed to, and all these different things. But they gave you all these prisms and you couldn't see clearly, but you had to keep passing tests that we seemed to go further and further into obscurity. And you never could see the truth. You never saw yourself, the prism that you would have liked to have seen things through. They would say that you were dyslexic, even though in our culture we read right to left, which means that we have been created to read right to left. But they told you to read left to right. So here you are trying to read left to right and having problems. And why is it that you're writing your S backwards and your 5 backwards and this and that? And they say, oh, yeah, that's just typical all children. And I even started doing it with my son. And I said, wait a minute, son. I was like, look, I'm not going to get on you. If you write some S's backwards every once in a while, you know why that is? It's because you read right to left. But when he writes his Hebrew characters, he don't write them backwards. You know why? Because his people read right to left. It's in his DNA. It's in his design. So in my house, he can't be dyslexic. But if I send him to school, he'd probably be dyslexic. And we probably try to figure out if you got a little boy, if you got a little melanated boy who has more things going on with him and it's difficult for him, he gonna wild out until he get older. The sisters, y'all be straight until you get older as children. The brothers, we wild out until we get older. So if he's still in wilding out phase and I'm trying to teach him to just be against his nature, he ain't gonna learn nothing because there's an algorithm. That's why they hated school. That's why I hated school, is because you're asking me to do everything in my power to stay still. And then you say, now go ahead and do complicated equations and do low-grade clerical work that you would do in a cubicle. And people that are in cubicles can't stand being in cubicles. But I want you to do it in first grade. I want you to do it at 5, at 6, at 7. And then as you get older, I'm going to start taking away physical education, the thing that actually causes you to produce testosterone. You know that's what happens, right? You produce testosterone, brothers. And guess what testosterone actually does? It causes you to be calmer. So let him get it out and have the testosterone so that he'll be calm. And guess what happens with you, sisters? When you operate correctly, it causes you to increase your estrogen. So the more estrogen that you have, the calmer you become. And if you want a boy to actually be aggressive, or if you want somebody going to the Olympics to be aggressive, that's why they do testing. Guess what they're looking for? They're actually looking for him to inject himself with things that are feminine. They're looking for him to inject himself with estrogen, because extra estrogen will make him more aggressive. That's why some people like soy. They start acting a little feminine and stuff too. They send up crying and things like that, but also they'll eat soy as a male. Why do you eat soy as a male? Because it actually gives you false estrogen. It gives you fake estrogen. So when you get fake estrogen in your system, your body thinks, okay, I guess we got to be aggressive. It messes you up down the road because it's fake anyway. But you go up, well, I got to be aggressive. Let's go ahead. Let's get it. but it's fake estrogen or things that your body mistakes for estrogen, so that's why the soy feels great in the moment, and it causes you to work out more because you're having something that's not like you become more aggressive. But if you would allow that person just in his nature to just go work out, he will work out and probably work out pretty hard anyways. Why? Because it gives him more testosterone, and then after the workout he feels calm. That's why he likes to watch sports. He watches sports because his testosterone spikes up. So he screams, "Yeah, get him! Let's go! Let's go!" Right? He do all that stuff, right? He be hitting like he playing the game. He be walking around, right, doing the whole, doing all that stuff. He doing all that because he's getting out testosterone. Then when he's finished, he's chilled out. He got in his happy space. He's chilled out. That's what he's doing. He's getting out aggression. Even if he's not playing the game, his body is having an experience as if he's playing the game. That's why, sisters, y'all like stuff that's estrogen filled. That's why y'all like some of that drama stuff. That's why y'all like, I don't even know all the stuff, but One Life to Live, General Hospital, is that stuff still out? I don't know, right? That's why y'all like the Nollywood stuff, Nigerian soap operas and all that. That's why y'all like all that, because it's estrogen. Girl, can you believe Desperate House, or not Desperate Housewives, Real Housewives, or whatever? There's so many of them now. That's why y'all like Kim Kardashian. Girl, can you believe so and so? I can't even believe. Could you believe so and so? Oh man, if it was me, girl, you start using words like "if it was me." Why? Why? Right? Y'all start saying "if it was me" because you're living it by watching it. It's going through your gates. Guard your gates. And say, yeah, you got in trouble because you can't stop getting up. Now you're labeled ADHD. Yeah, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The Desperate Housewives. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what all the stuff's called. But you know what I'm saying? Like all this stuff that's out there is because like you watch it because what does it do? Estrogen level. So what if we were to give you some stuff like foraging? Estrogen levels go up. It's exciting. What if we gave you some stuff like, I don't know, getting your nails done? Guess what happens? Estrogen levels go up. They study you more than we study ourselves. They study us more than we study ourselves. Right? So they know already. That's why they put the programming out. It's algorithm. Now we're going to talk more about kings tomorrow, so I'm not going to keep going into the king part. I'm going to just focus on the sisters because we're already a little bit over time, and we're probably going to go, as we have a tendency to do, we'll probably go a little more. Hopefully not as long as we did on Tuesday. But, but like that's why this stuff is there. One Life to Live. Back in the day, Dallas, or was it that? What was the show? Was it Dallas? I think it was Dallas, right? I think my mom used to watch Dallas a little bit. Some of this other stuff. You watch this because they know it's there. Like the way that the mall is set up for an estrogen rush. That's why men don't like to shop. And when they're there at the store, guess what happens? Because it's set up for an estrogen rush, men get aggressive, don't we? Don't we? Right? Don't we get aggressive? Don't husbands start muttering under their breath? Don't they just go and sit down in the mall and sit outside and wait because they don't want to go ahead and wait and deal with this or whatever, right? They put that stuff in the store. It's built so that as soon, like what happens when before you even get into the store? Most people ain't even gonna touch it. But before you get into the store, what do they put out there? What do you see before you come into a store? You start seeing crackers and stuff outside. You see plants outside. You see watermelon. You see like stuff that's pretty. They have all this stuff or whatever. You got Girl Scout cookies, right? Like before you even get in. Then when you get in, usually it's gonna be what? Either dessert out, or if they want you to think it's healthy, they're gonna put some vegetables and stuff. What is that for? That's aesthetics. That doesn't really mean much to us as men. But for the sister, it's everything. Oh man, that's awesome. Or look at this snack, right? Or maybe my children like to snack on this and this and that. It's set up for an estrogen rush. And estrogen for the sister does what? It makes her more calm. But for the brother, it does what? It makes him more aggressive. So men get in there, first thing they see it is all this stuff for estrogen rush. What happens? You start you start getting aggressive. You start mumbling, you start rolling your eyes. You start thinking to yourself, how long are we gonna be here? It's designed because it's not designed for you, brother. It's designed for her. This thing is not designed. Like they know who's coming in there to buy the stuff. Who cares whose money it is? They don't care about whose money it is. They know who's doing the shopping, and it's not gonna be you, bro. you know. So you got to recognize, but also too in that situation, guess what? Because it's something that calms you down and because it's something that brings joy, they might give you some stuff that's not necessarily going to work for you, sisters, right? Like they might give you something, like they'll have some signs that my wife has had to start teaching me more about this stuff, especially when we go to different neighborhoods where you'll see signs for certain places. And you're like, why don't they have those signs in other neighborhoods? Like, why is it that they got the abortion sign always in the black neighborhood? But in the white neighborhood, they got a picture of like families together. Now, I'm not saying, and I'm using colonial constructs here, I'm not saying white people don't get abortions. But hear what I'm saying. The signs don't be as prevalent there. Like, why is it that I'm waiting on the bus, and as I'm waiting for whatever, the X2, the X9, whatever I'm looking for in DC, and on both sides of me, as I'm waiting, sitting down, I'm seeing like, hey, do you need to make sure that the government can help you with your families on this side? And on the other side is, hey, women don't feel like you're forced to have a child. Like, why is that in our community so prevalent? Why is it on huge billboards? You know how much it costs for a billboard? I thought about using billboards for SOC before, my wife and I, before. You start looking at prices, you're like, oh, for a week? You talking about like bare minimum, cheap, disgusting, falling apart billboard? You talking about $2,000? And that's cheap. I mean, I'm talking about that's pennies. Like a lot of them billboards, 50,000, 100,000, stuff like that, right? To put something up on a billboard. So people who you see on the billboard all the time, they making loot. You know what I'm saying? But in all that being said, it's like, okay, they'll pay that. They're that invested in Chicago. I'm talking about places we've traveled. I'm not talking about what I heard. They're that invested in the D. They're that invested in H-Town. They're that invested in Dallas. They're that invested in Oaktown. They're that invested in Miami. They're that invested in Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. I know it's Baltimore, but that ain't nobody say it like that. In Baltimore, right? They're that invested in Raleigh. They're that invested in the list goes on and on. New York City, the Bronx, whatever of the 5 boroughs you in, et cetera, Staten Island, et cetera. Like they're that invested heavily into your destruction, into the destruction of sisters. And you don't think that affects anybody? Like we got to deal with this. This is something that's odd that people would say that I'm the person with the problem because I would defend our culture. Because I would say it's more important to defend our sisters and their way of life. Oh, payday loans places for sure, right? In Beham, I didn't even know it was called Beham until until the other day. I was trying to contact some people on here. Birmingham, Beham, right? Like you don't see those things everywhere. Invested in your death. Why is it that in places where you live, when it came time for them to make sure that you got the shot, right? When it came time for them to make sure that you got this shot, you got the jab, all this stuff. When it came time for you to get the shot, you know what was crazy? Is that they made sure that they started giving y'all free lotto tickets, and they knew that they had messed you up so bad in your algorithm that you were thinking to yourself, wow, there's a chance that I could win more money. No, it's the same chances it's always been. Matter of fact, if more people play it, it's going to be less chance. I'm not saying you're evil because you play the lotto. I'm just trying to tell you, they literally are studying you and using you against you. They know what the algorithm is. They know that the woman that says she don't need no man, they know that she still wants to look at wedding dresses, so they'll send them to her anyways. You ever thought about that? You ever thought about that? They study you when you don't study you, and you don't study your enemy, so you don't study them at all. They study you. They just gonna do whatever we say anyway. So who cares? They study you. They just gonna do whatever we say. So they don't care what you say because you haven't set up anything to protect your own community, brothers. We have not set up anything to correct certain things that have been a mistake with our sisters. So guess what? They don't care about making sure your sisters are taken care of. And it's not on them. I'm not mad at them. Once again, I'm not mad at the world for being the world. World going world. World going world. I'm not concerned about that. Don't make that your concern. Well, what is Biden going to do and blah, blah. And they had this whole thing. All these people came up with this stuff. And they're going to try to take down TikTok. Like, if you know how this works, like, they're going to do that every year. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. Every year, TikTok said, guess what happens when you do that? TikTok gonna give views. Well, guess what Facebook did? Facebook's actually the people that started this thing that they tried to blame TikTok for. Guess what? Facebook just got views. Well, actually, if you figure it out, YouTube and Google, and they actually are threatened by TikTok, blah, blah. Google got more searches. It's an algorithm. And they're doing the same thing with our sisters. That's why we talked about today the algorithm of an Israelite queen, right? Like, if we see, I'm opposite. I come from a different context of thought. I don't believe that not talking about something will solve problems. I believe that if we defend our sisters more, then our sisters can be able to be brought up more. And I'm not, and I'll be honest. It's not just going to be, I will say things that I feel like we could be stronger in the feminine parts of our community. But also, I'm not going to deny the fact that, hey, I got something to do with it too as a male. Game of Thrones. Oh yeah, you study them. Amen. Yeah. So I got stuff I could do too as a husband, as a father, as a spiritual father. Right? We can be something that's there. You said, how did they get to know so much about our people? They studied. Go read Willie Lynch letter, 1712, speech that he gave in December 25th, Christmas Day, 1712. He tells you that he studied you. He studied your curses. He said that we have to reverse their nature. They studied your nature. He knew that a woman, if she saw the chief of her tribe get literally ripped apart in front of her and saw all the other men be beaten to the point of death around her, he said, we already know what time it is. She is going to go ahead and she's going to do what? She's going to end up basically eating out of the palm of our hand because she has no protector, and she will raise her daughter and son to be out in reverse roles. And he said that she will call herself strong, independent. And guess what? You had a lot of sisters still, strong, independent Black woman, and that was actually somebody who was the devil. He ain't the devil, but he basically was somebody who had the devil all up in him. They study you. He even says, when you read it, it even says that he had researchers that he hired. He had people that were researchers that they hired to be able to ensure that they would be able to know not just how to keep you in it, but what was the only things that would cause you to come out of it. And guess what he said? He said there's only really one anomaly that we found. There's only one thing as we get ready to take our leave for the day. He said there's only one thing that we really found that could squash all this stuff and would actually cause them to come back into righteous standing, right? And it basically was Yah's will for marriage. He said if their men ever go back to being husbands and their women ever go back to being wives, he said all this stuff we're doing is done. A reset of the mind, if you will. That's what he said. He said if they ever go back to being husbands and wives according to their standards, their culture, their religiosity, etc. He said if they ever make that shift, he said game over for slavery. He said we can't do nothing else. If that's what they're gonna do, he said what else we got? That's what he said straight up. He said if we mess around and this is what we do, he said we ain't got nothing else left. If they ever find out what it is to go back to their culture, to their communities, to love their wives correctly, all that, he said if they ever do that, it's over. Game over. Can you see now why SOC we believe so much in talking about marriage? He always talking about marriage. Yeah, because if you want yourself to go back to the way it's supposed to be, game over the day that you realize that you won't be married to the Most High and how to make sure that your husband and wife mentality is together, because everything in your community is based off of those two. It's an algorithm. Your child will stop acting up when your marriage is stronger. Your businesses will get better because you'll treat each other different because you get the love and stuff that you need at home. So you won't be sitting there looking for love at work or be sitting up there trying to like demean others, or you get bullied at home. So you're going to bully people at work. Y'all do that because your marriages don't work. I know y'all don't want to talk about that's real talk right there. Like I don't have no really bad conversations or yelling matches or anything, with people in business and stuff like that. You want to know why? Because I don't really do that at home. I don't need to bully nobody. I don't need to bully any of y'all into agreeing with what I believe or not. You know why? Because my wife and I, we straight in that regard. That's not a problem for me. My son don't have to worry about this. That's not a problem for him. You said, why do I think interracial couples? Because I think it's just a way of, I see that on commercials and things. And by the way, I'm not anti-interracial couples per se, but I'm into making sure that you marry people that are into your culture. So do with that what you will. We don't have that much time left. However, that's being pushed upon people because they don't want people to be in culture. And by the way, that's a lot of what goes on too. A lot of people are looking for that stuff because let's be honest, once again, can't get mad at the sister who keeps waiting for somebody who looks like her to treat her with respect, and then she never gets treated with respect. She looks for somewhere else. I mean, that makes sense. You can have a dog that's with some wild dogs in the street, but if the wild dogs treat them like crap and the human being keeps making sure they get fed, eventually the dog would defend the human being. I'm not trying to say that we're different species. I'm just trying to say, like, I can't be mad at it. Like, because if a sister's been looking for somebody to treat her with respect and she can't get in her own community, then why would she not look somewhere else? Even if they'll down her, even if they'll not play, even if they'll play her for a fool, even if the person she's going out with will straight up be like, hey, like, you don't got to call yourself, black and stuff like that around me and stuff. Like, they'll say stuff to her, even if they cosplay or not. Well, I don't know. What do you call it? Not cosplay, but whatever you role play. Even if you role play, they be doing some racist role play. I've heard some wild stuff, and I ain't gonna hold you. When I used to be out there in the pornography and stuff, like not in it, but like watching it. When I was watching pornography and stuff like that, I promise you, like, you see some wild stuff up there. Like, call her N word, or call the dude an N word, call her a B, say you love this N word, DIC. You know what? Like, there's some wild stuff out there. So I'm always about culture. I'm gonna just go ahead and put it that way. I'm always about culture. Like, culturally speaking, make sure that you with somebody that knows your culture. I don't care if they're black or not. I mean, there's relevancy in that to a certain degree. For real. Like, just being honest, and even as far as us coming out of this as a community, probably should look at doing some stuff with people that are, going through similar struggles and things like that, which includes, unfortunately, nowadays, skin color. But I'm not going to act like a sister is wrong for looking for something outside of her culture if there's no culture. First of all, it's not her culture. That's part of the problem. Like, a man who puts his hands on his wife, that's not our culture. I said this earlier, right? In our culture, a witch should be put to death. What is a witch? A witch is somebody that tries to control people. Witchcraft is when you craft or create things to control people. You said feminism works both ways, but again, culture makes a difference. Or fetishism can work both ways. Oh yeah, right. But I'm just saying in general, right? Like, you won't, like, watch this. You shouldn't have, in your culture, you won't have certain fetishes that pop up. You know why? Because it would be disgusting. Right? If you don't have platonic relationships or Freudian ways of thought, which are into homosexuality and into messing with little children, then guess what? You wouldn't have grown men and little girls, I guess, but it seems to be like grown men do this more. You wouldn't have grown men that want, like, people to treat them like children. Not, I'm not talking about mama's boy. No, I'm talking about, like, there's people that have a fetish where they want to wear diapers and all types of stuff. Well, guess where that comes from? There's a culture that people were attracted to that. Why do you have furries? Same reason why you call children kids, right? Let's just be honest about it. There's a culture where they like little children, especially little boys, and they had them dress up in those high heels and they put on furry outfits on the bottom half. Y'all see this movie? What's that movie? I always forget the name of it. The Chronicles of Narnia, right? And the first one was the witch, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or something like that. And in the first one, and they got you call them satyrs, right? Is it satyr, the half man, half goat thing or something? What uh whatever he is. Maybe the satyr's the reverse. I don't remember. But he's got the legs of the goat. That's how they used to dress these little boys up. So that's why you call them kids, baby goats, right? Or a fawn or whatever, half fawn. Okay. Oh wow, that's even worse. I was thinking fawn, but I was hoping I was wrong. Fawn's even worse, right? So it's like, but if you think about those things, that's what they did. Percy Jackson, another one. Yep. Percy Jackson movie, which if you read the book is actually even wilder than what they show in there. But that's why that dude's dressed up. And everybody fought so hard to make sure that the black guy could have a role in it. Why would you want your people to be recognized as that? Pan's Labyrinth. I still haven't seen that. I've seen pieces. My wife has seen it. She's told me about it before. You probably heard in the background say that's all. I haven't seen it yet. I've seen pieces of it. Is that the one that Guillermo del Toro did? Del Toro. I always mess up my iron, but yeah. So I've seen pieces of that one. You said the movie Kevin Hart movie. Oh, I don't even know about that. I had to look that up. I don't even know what that what that is. It was him. Yeah. So matter of fact, the only movie of his I ever liked was Blade 2, and that's got a bunch of stuff in it that I shouldn't have been watching either. And something else he did. But anyways, yeah, he be disgusting in his stuff, just straight up. That Pinocchio movie he did was out of this world too. If y'all saw that one, that was like that was something. That was something. That's got a lot of spiritual, discussion and stuff like that. Oh, it is a satyr? Okay. I thought so. I thought that's what they called him. But yeah, but that's where that comes from. So what I'm saying is like it's all cultural, right? Like the same thing. Like and people are stepping outside of it. Like our women, our diaspora, they're the ones growing the fastest in the witchcraft. You know why? Because they've been looking for the manifestation of the sons of Elohim, and we ain't been there. All right, Southside Flocka, well, you're on now. We appreciate you. If you can be forgiven and stuff like that in the manner that you're saying somebody else wasn't, then let's go ahead and talk. That's fine. If you feel like that or whatever. They do those things for a particular reason. And certain languages on here, it's not just about you. TikTok is, that's why we have Kofi_43. We've had 4 things on TikTok already because people take down stuff, not just because of you. So praise y'all for you being here, hanging in there, your patience. Thank you, right? Brother TJ doing what he do, and he doing a great work for us, right? Stick around long enough, you'll see why some of those things happen. But we appreciate you. So here we go. So it's like so we have to realize, you know what I'm saying? Like we have to realize for the fact that there's certain things that are there, respect back to, right? Much respect. So we have to realize. All right, J Man, thank you. Yeah, we about to take our leave too. So we got to realize we're in a situation, we're in a place to where like it's palpable, the disgusting things and the disrespect of culture and all these different things. Like we live in a place that's designed to do that, right? And so our sisters, and I'm gonna say this, right? They are the most disrespected creature on the planet. They are not the most disrespected person. I wish I could just leave it at that. They are not the most disrespected people. And a lot of them aren't even a nation because in order to be a people, you have to be a nation. So I can't even leave it at that. They are the most disrespected creature. You know why? Because there are a lot of you who, to give respect to a woman, you would call her out of her name. Forgive my language. Forgive my language. Right? I'm not cussing anybody out. This is not actually a curse word unless you direct it at a woman. So I'm not directing this anybody at you. I'm trying to tell you what you call her. You call her a bitch. A bitch is a female dog. Right? But you think that a woman should call herself the baddest bee. And sisters do that with each other. Why? Because I'm not calling a woman this, a bitch actually gets more respect in this culture that you're trying to live in than a woman should. That's what y'all come out of. If you don't believe me, there's something called the Casual Killing Act. By the way, it was actually created because they were killing off babies, where women, right, of the wives of slave masters were watching these babies walking around who were looking more like their husbands than their own children with their husbands did. And they started to get upset and they would beat them to death. They would stomp them out, like they would stomp them like they were nothing and kill them. It wasn't even the overseers. It wasn't even the slave masters, because they comprehended that these people had value. They had worth, right? They made them money. So you can't just kill your money maker. But she ain't care about that. She was in a fit of rage. And so she would kill the babies. They came up with a law called the Casual Killing Act, to where if you discipline somebody too much, you know, if you discipline somebody too much, well, hey, there's really no such thing as disciplining anybody too much because they got out of line. Well, same thing. Same thing is going on with these sisters. They are being killed off. They are being hurt. They are being treated disrespectfully. They are being treated as if they're nothing, as if they're nobody. They're not being shown love to. They're not being given any agreement. And so they feel like they're being killed off. So rather than keep being in a situation where it's okay to kill off the women of your diaspora, they just go ahead and they're looking for any love or anything else they can find, including even if they have to start loving up on each other. Don't get mad all the time at the sister who is like, I'd rather be with another sister, because, hey, at least we know what it's like to have to deal with all these men coming at us. So if you want them to come out of that, or if you don't even want them to enter into it, guess what you need to do, brother? Be a foundation. She's a house, but you the foundation. And yes, it doesn't make sense that a house would be on top of a house. But if there's no foundation and the house wants a foundation, and one house says, I'll try to bear the weight, even if that house breaks apart because it's trying to bear the weight of another house, hey, it's more respected than a house that's out there without a foundation. She's not looking for a woman that wears, that wears a mock penis. The mock penis represents what you have. Problem is that you aren't what she needs. And there's a woman that at least will try to pretend like she can be what you're supposed to be. You don't even want to pretend. And then if you're going to pretend anyways, then who cares if she's pretending with a little boy who's trying to pretend like he's a husband, or a little girl who's trying to pretend like she's a husband? Who cares? I'm talking about in your mind, little boy, and you're not really a husband, let alone a man. A little girl who hasn't been protected herself, and a lot of them haven't been protected. And that's why they try. And they'll be so much like you because they are attracted to you, but that which they were attracted to wouldn't respect them. So they say, okay, I'll one up you. I'll become what you are. And then maybe you'll give me some respect. And I'll take your girl too. I mean, this thing goes deep. And I'm not saying that's every single situation, obviously. But this thing goes deeper than just, oh, she a lesbian. She's an abomination. He's an abomination. Like, it goes deeper than that. You don't want to talk about the culture they came out of. Well, see, you said it feels like people that are prostitutes might be winning, but really, real talk, if you're a prostitute, how much stuff, like, how many horror stories there are, people that we call them hoes or whores or whatever. You know how many horror stories they have? I talked to some of these women. I talk to women that on levels sometimes that y'all might not think would be on something here. They're not really trying to let y'all know. Some of them, not just talking about on the prostitute level, I'm talking about people that make money. And so you'd be surprised, like, how many of them have situations that y'all would not want to be a part of, and some of the drama that comes with it. They ain't winning. They ain't winning. I'll put it like that. You think because they got money, they went, no. Like, there's stuff you got to be a slave to or in debt to when you get to that situation. Somebody mentioned, I don't know if it was my wife or somebody else, somebody mentioned Cardi B. I don't know if this is why they mentioned Cardi B earlier, but, Cardi B, they asked her a question, right? There's something that's been, like, kind of popping around on all the stuff on YouTube and stuff, eventually making its rounds again. And she's interviewed. And I'm be honest with you, and this is not shade at anybody wearing makeup or anything like that, but I actually felt sad for her. Like, she wears so much makeup, like, you can see the cracks in it, and you could still see that she had, like, a lot of imperfections. You could still see that she had, like, a lot of facial issues and stuff like that, right? And as I was listening to her, and they asked her a question, the one that's really floating around nowadays is a whole interview, but I believe this was, I could be wrong, I think it was with the Russian cat, Vlad TV, I think. I'm not sure, but she was sitting up there. He asked her a question, right? So he asked her the question. He answered this question. He says, you know, has having money, and having the fame and all this stuff, does it make you happy? Right? Somebody that everybody's trying to do. And I'm not saying you can't wear any makeup. I'm just saying with her, she had, like, you could tell, like, there was still something going on. There's like something she's covering up or something that's going on. Like, she had weight. I don't know if it's she had too much on. Somebody who's an expert, they can tell me. But you could tell, like, there was just something going on with even the way she had it on, the color patterns. Like, I don't know. I'm not into all that, but you could just tell. And she looked real sad. Like, she was saying stuff and she was doing, but like, you could tell, like, she wasn't. And then he finally asked the question, well, what about the wealth and all this stuff? Does it make you happy? And she said, and really, wealth is different than riches, but that's what he probably meant. Is, what about being rich? And she goes, well, in all honesty, I mean, I'm not like, I was kind of, happier before I had the money. Like, she's like, I'm happy to have the money because I can take care of my family. So she goes, you know, but before I was famous, I was a stripper. And when I had the stuff as a stripper, she says, like, basically, like, before I was, when I was a stripper, like, and she was like, and yeah, and then she felt bad about saying it, but then of course she has to act like she's okay with this. Just to go, oh no, I was happy being a stripper. And you could see, like, when you're looking for little signs, you're like, ooh, like, you didn't, and obviously you weren't happy because she was actually, if you know about it, she was date raping men, and she would, like, take their money when they were asleep, and that's how she was getting her money for her recording sessions and things like that. So she wasn't necessarily happy either with that, but she was doing what she had to do in New York to make it, whatever, to each their own. I'm not putting her heaven to hell. I'm just saying, like, you could see though that she's conflicted. But then she says, but even then, at least I could do whatever I wanted to do. I could go wherever I wanted to go. Right? Yeah, she's having a struggle within her mind. You can see it in the interview. But she says, yeah, like, I'm not really happy now because I can't really do. There's a pressure that comes with that. Everybody always want the views and this and that or whatever. There's a pressure that comes with that. Everybody will always want to be the person in charge. I promise you, there's always somebody to tell me why we ain't doing what we said we're going to do right. You know what I'm saying? There's a pressure. There's a pressure when somebody comes on and they saying something and you want to cuss them out, but you can't cuss them out because you got kingdom in you. And everybody looking to see what's going to happen. Right? There's a pressure. Right. So all I'm saying is this: we got to get ready to take our leave and do our shout out. So thank you, everybody, for being on. We appreciate you. That algorithm of an Israelite queen, it hit different. That's what you're there for. Right. But I'm just saying, like, there's a pressure that comes on with that. Be ready. Be ready. There's a pressure that comes with the Israelite queen. Be ready, sisters, but also brothers. There's a pressure that comes with being an Israelite queen. Be ready to secure her. What's an Israelite queen's number one and number two need? Number one's going to be security. Secure her. She's looking for a spiritual father. Number two is what? Oh, well, number one, I'm going to reverse what I said earlier. Number one is secure her. She's looking for a spiritual father. That comes with security. And number two, she doesn't mind working, but she doesn't want to have to work. She should be there to multiply what you're doing. And so her work should be relative to every decision you make. You should secure her in her work, but she doesn't want to have to work. Or let's put it like this: she shouldn't want to have to toil, to have a job. She shouldn't. And look, people, oh no, I have a job and he has a job and we're okay. I didn't say you're not okay. What I'm saying though is that if you had to have two jobs and he had none, and that's going to cause some issues. And I know there's people, no, we work fine. He's a stay-at-home husband and this and that, blah, blah, and this and that. Okay. Well, maybe in your love language, then he's still doing a whole bunch of stuff so that you don't have to do this. All you have to do is go to your job, right? Y'all might have to figure that out within yourself, but I'm here to tell you 99.99999% of the time, a wife does not want to have to work. She doesn't want to have to work. I see you if you're not cheerfully fulfilling it. Yeah, amen. Right? A wife does not want to have to do that. It's not that she will not do that, it's that she does not want to have to do that. If you put her in a position where she has to have all the stuff on her shoulders, then guess what? What of what value are you there for anyways, brother? She got to do all the stuff around the house, and then has to work. Like, you get to have breaks, but she don't get to get no breaks. You get to go out with the boys, but she can't go out with the girls. Like, there has to be something where, like, so now she has to take on. Now she's in a position of have to. I have to. I have to. I'm telling you right now. Give your wife the freedom and the space to be able to do what she wants to do, and I promise you, she'll do more than she has to do. Somebody ain't hear that, but that's a word for somebody, right? Study that word, meditate on that, pray about that, right? Pray about that, study that. You might not like that, but that's real talk right there. Do everything that you can to give her the freedom to make sure that she can do what she wants to do, and I promise you, she'll do more than what she has to do. Now, somebody said, well, what if she don't want to do? No, brother. Trust what I'm saying, right? Because she's designed. I didn't say, and by the way, that's why we have to be careful with this. I did not say a woman, even though women are to be highly regarded, but woman is not on the same level as wife. And I did not say little girls. Some of y'all marry little girls who are still not qualified yet to be wives. I didn't say that, right? Some of these wives are not even, some of these women that you want to make wives, they're not even wives to the Most High. I said a wife, right? A wife meets certain qualifications, right? So a wife meets certain qualifications. So those of you who have a wife, give her enough freedom to do what she wants to do, because she wants to do what wives do. She wants to multiply. She wants to be submitted not to a man, but submitted to a mission, hence the word submission, right? Give her what she wants to do, and I promise you she'll do more than what she has to do. Matter of fact, you'll have to start reminding her, baby, you ain't sleeping. Baby, when's the last time that you eat? Did you eat yet? Did you go to the gym? It's been a minute. You'd be surprised. You have to start talking to her and reminding her, because she's so busy in the work, not because she has to do it. I just told you earlier. See, y'all missed it. No woman wants to have to work. Don't make it to where she has to do it. Make it to where she gets to do what she wants to do once she has been trained on how to do it. And a lot of y'all are messing up with these sisters because you're giving them unfair stuff, because you married a little girl, but you're trying to act like she should be like a wife. You put her in a bad position because you didn't know what a wife was. I don't expect 8-year-olds to do what 48-year-olds do. And if she's an 8-year-old in the spirit or an 8-year-old in the mind, or she's still drinking sincere milk, right, from the bosom of the Most High, then I'm not expecting that she's ready for meat. I expect little girls to do little girl things. Now, I know in every queen there is a little girl, and in every princess there is a wife. I get that, but I'm just saying, I didn't marry. I didn't look for an 8-year-old mentality. I looked for a wife. He who finds a wife finds a constitutional or great thing, and it obtains favor from the Most High. Get you a wife. Look on the shelf and stop looking on the bottom shelf and start looking up higher on the shelf. Right? Get you a wife and stop looking on the bottom shelf and start looking up a little higher. Right? She ain't gonna be on sale. She's not gonna be on sale. You got to pay full price. You're not gonna find her the coupon. You're not gonna have a coupon for her. You get coupons for stuff, right? Like if you're looking for a wife, right? You go to certain dealerships. They don't have deals. If you're looking for deals, they're gonna tell you might want to leave. There's certain places where they don't have price tags on stuff, right? When I was still doing the suit and tie thing, when you walk in there, they don't have prices on certain places you go looking for suit and ties, right? If you want certain suit and tie, you're gonna pay whatever they say you're gonna pay. Just come in there with a couple thousand. Oh, thank you for the love. I never seen the scepter. Appreciate it. Just be ready. Come in there with a couple thousand, because that's what you fitting to get. That's what you get, right? So you looking for a wife, she don't come on sale. Hear me, Israelite queens, and hear me well. You don't have to come on sale. You don't have to sell your beliefs. You don't have to sell your standards. You don't have to sell what the Most High told you. You don't have to sell your children away. You don't have to sell this. You don't have to sell that. You can be exactly who He called you to be. And by the way, let me end on this, right? Do me a favor, sir. Go and face that tree right there, right here. I don't know if y'all can all see him. Hold on. I might have to have him go to another tree. Here, go to this. Go to. Well, just stand at the just stand right here, right? All right, face it over here. And we're gonna get ready to take our leave after that. Do our shout out. Right. You see where he is. You see there's a tree right next to him. Y'all see there's a tree right next to him. It wouldn't make sense if I wanted to go ahead and get some fruit from this tree. If I were to say, "Hey, tree, give me some fruit." Turn to the tree, ask it for some fruit. Does it make sense? It doesn't make sense, does it? Right?
It doesn't come.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, right? To ask the tree for fruit. But that's what y'all be doing. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna, right? It doesn't happen that way. Now here's another thing that doesn't make sense. Watch this. Um, I would get some fruit from the tree, but I'm gonna just go ahead. Watch this. Like this doesn't make any sense either. I would get some fruit from the tree, but I'm waiting for the tree to come over to me, and then I'll get some fruit. No, right? Like the tree, I know there's videos and stuff like that. I get it. Hear the context, get the context. The tree is not getting ready to come over and move to me. Now, it might even sway to me. I've even seen that where you can speak to a tree and the tree might even kind of extend itself towards you.
Speak to the tree.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So it might be something where you can have it maybe sway some, but for the most part, if you want fruit from the tree, you got to go to the tree. And wives, you should be like a tree. This is the algorithm. This is the algorithm of an Israelite queen. Wives, you should be like a tree that's planted by the rivers of water so that in its season, it'll give forth much fruit. Right? So be planted where you're supposed to be. I'm not looking for somebody who's outside of a wife. I'm not expecting that we're gonna make that work. I'm expecting that us being who we're supposed to be and standing on who we are, that's how it works. So you remain where you're supposed to be. And if a husband doesn't know how to climb you, then don't let him climb. Right? Like y'all might not know this. Mistletoe is naturally, right? Hold on one second. Mistletoe is actually always on the top of the tree. Sometimes it falls down, but mistletoe actually grows at the tops of trees, and it is something that actually it's a parasite. It lives off of the tree. So if you want to get mistletoe, which has a lot of great medicinal purposes, if you want to get it though, you got to know how to get to it. You got to know how to shoot it down. You got to know how to climb the tree. Whatever. If you can't climb right, if you're not prepared for it, you'll kill yourself trying to get some mistletoe, and you'll break some branches on the way down. And sure enough, a lot of brothers have tried to deal with actual wives, trees that are planted the way they're supposed to, and you trying to get to the stuff all the way at the top, but you end up killing yourself, and you end up messing up her branches on the way down. It's trying to let these sisters be who they're supposed to be. That being said, thank you guys for being on. I appreciate you. Please check out my wife, the Honorable Maya, on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A and D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. We praise y'all for her. We praise y'all for each and every one of you for being on today. So we're going to do our shout out real quick because I don't even have that much battery left. But we're going to do our shout out real quick so that everybody who's on with us still outside of TikTok, if you're on TikTok, just stick around for a little bit. We're going to do a quick version of our shout out, and then we're going to keep it moving. And we hope that you guys enjoy your day. But I promise you, if you want to get more information about what we do and things like that, feel free to just stick around for the shout out so we can get you the information. But thank you, everybody, for being on. We appreciate you. We honor the King, Queen, each and every one of you. We thank you so much. Please check out my wife once again, the Honorable Maya, on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A and D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. We're so thankful and grateful for everybody for being on today. We appreciate you. That being said, oh well, As always, there's been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ. We're always changing lives one mind at a time, but being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken until we have the great privilege, opportunity, responsibility of being in front of you all again. Please remember, as always, yourself, that you are loved, you're necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, family. We'll talk to you soon. Everybody who's on TikTok still, this is how to shout out.